is now? I don't know.
Welcome to Natchitoches again for our December meeting at the pleasure of Commissioner Foster Campbell. It's always good to come to Natchitoches for Christmas. Thank you again, Commissioner Campbell. Let's all rise and we'll start this thing off by recognizing our Creator. I'm going to lead the prayer today, and with your permission, I'm going to give a poem by Lesson. Let's bow our heads and pray. Okay. All right, so we could hear. You got it? All right, let's pray. Little baby on the hay, soon there'll be another day when nails will pierce your hands and feet as you deliver our sins' defeat. Risen Jesus on the throne, we lift these prayers to you alone, for you're the gift that we receive, the hour that our hearts believe. Amen. Amen. Okay, and let me hold up the flag, and I'm going to ask Brother Cousin to lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so y'all give me another chance to give the Boy Scouts a plug. Be prepared, okay? I keep that in my billfold just for this reason, and it's an honor to serve it. All right, let's see. We're going to start out with any announcements.
Yes.
Foster Campbell, you got anything to say?
Do you have any announcements? He's got a lot of people here.
Good morning.
Morning.
Glad to have you here in Natchitoches, the oldest city in Louisiana Purchase, older than New Orleans for people who lived in New Orleans. Beautiful city. I hate to say this. I mean, I really like to say it. I think Natchitoches is the prettiest town in Louisiana. Now, I represent a bunch of towns, I might get in trouble, but I just have to tell you what I think is true. Beautiful this time of year. Glad to have you in town. They go out of their way to help people here and make everybody comfortable. We have some elected officials here. Is the Sheriff Ronnie Williams here? If he's not here, Ronnie Williams is a sheriff, does a fine job. Evidently, he had something else to do today. We invited him. But anyway, that's a good thing. Parish President. Maybe I better talk about what I said about Natchitoches back. Parish President is John Salter. State Representative, I saw Larry Bagley. He's here. Larry, where are you? I did see him. He's here. And the Mayor, Ronnie Williams, is he here? Anyway, thank you for making this facility available for everybody. I appreciate you coming to Natchitoches. It couldn't be a better place to have a meeting in Natchitoches. Beautiful town, oldest town in Louisiana, and very hospitable people. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, I see where we're going to have our January meetings moved up from the 21st to January the 14th, 2026. January 14th, y'all change your calendars. Be in Baton Rouge.
Correct.
Galvez building.
Yep.
Okay, we have some more.
I have some.
All right, Commissioner Scametta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, it's this time of year that I always like to remind folks about the Christmas season and how we learned about the Christmas season. A lot of us who were, I learned that I'm not a boomer, I'm a Johnson, which some of y'all understand what that means. I'm the tail end of the boomers and not quite the next generation letter. And those of us who used to watch A Charlie Brown Christmas learn about the spirit of Christmas and the story of Christmas. And I'd like to share that with you now, as Linus explained to Charlie Brown when he didn't understand. And Linus spoke. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, Glory to God the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill towards men. And that's the spirit of Christmas, Charlie Brown. Thank you.
Amen. And out of that, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one announcement for us all. As we know, this season is a hard season for a lot of people, and we're seeing our weather be very cold, and so I'm asking all of our utilities just in this moment to please be cautious with your disconnections. We've been watching other states take some action to ensure that we protect people in the extreme cold and with their heat. And so while I know we all have a job to do, I would just ask that we all make sure that we're protecting the people of Louisiana, working with them, ensuring that they can afford their bills, but also making sure they're not harmed in this season. And so I just wanted to raise that to an attention. I'll meet with all of you individually about ideas and ways that I think we can protect rearage accounts, but also protect people. But in this season, I think it's important for us to put that at the front of our minds. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Toussaint.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things. Number one, also wanted to welcome State Representative Mark Wright. I think he stepped out of the room. He represents the Covington area. He's the chairman of transportation in the House. He was meeting and greeting several people here. I just wanted to welcome him as another elected official. And number two, this is our last meeting of the year, last meeting of my first year on the Public Service Commission, and I just wanted to share some gratitude and thanks to all of you for welcoming me, for educating me, and really lifting me up, and that goes for my fellow commissioners here, our staff in Baton Rouge, all of you, my personal staff in Baton Rouge who do an outstanding job of communicating with all of you, and then to all of the regulated utilities and stakeholders. I've learned a tremendous amount from all of you. I think we have a whole lot of talent in Louisiana, which is why all eyes are on Louisiana right now, and I don't want that to go unnoticed. The amount of professionalism that each of you has, and the way you conduct business, and the success and the effectiveness that all of you conduct business really shines a bright light on this state. So I appreciate all of you. Merry Christmas.
Well, thank you, John Paul. And I'd like to announce that she's back. She's back. Lauren Evans is back. Got another little new baby. Yeah. I want to take a little part of privilege. One of my old buddies from one of my old Gina Giant buddies is here today. Paul Palmer there. So, thank you for coming by, Paul. So, we got any other announcements from the commissioner?
Jay Jordan's here.
What's that?
Jay's here?
Excuse me, Blossman.
Oh, Blossman's here.
Oh, Jay.
He wants to still be elected.
It's Commissioner Blossman. There he is.
Commissioner Blossman, where are you at? Okay, good to see you again, former commissioner.
And Mark Wright's in the back now. He can wave. Mark Wright, why don't you wave your hand?
Mark Wright.
There he is.
Just for the record, Mark's from the North Shore.
Yep.
He's a good Republican. He's running for the open seat of Eric Schmidt, I guess, next year. That actually they have the Republican primaries, in May and June this year, I believe. Okay, well, wish you well on that race.
We'll see.
Mr. Chairman,
And Commissioner Campbell?
I've heard so much about Republicans, I'm just real close to switching.
I'll sign your letter of recommendation.
I'm about 2 miles or 3 miles from switching.
I'll be glad to sign your letter of rec. No problem.
And that's the only announcement from staff.
And I was just going to add, too, when Commissioner Lewis was talking about disconnects, just to remind, I was trying to pull up the actual language, but we do have a disconnect prohibition order for extreme weather, so utilities be mindful of that's out there.
Gilly?
All right, are we ready for,
Yes, sir.
go to exhibit number 2?
Exhibit number 2 is undocketed. It's the 2026 proposed business and executive session schedule. It's a discussion and possible vote to accept the 2026 proposed dates. These are the following proposed dates for 2026. January 14th, February 25th, March 18th, April 15th, May 13th, June 17th, no meeting in July, August 12th, September 16th, October 21st, November 18th, and December 16th. No. And staff recommends that the commission accept the proposed 2026 B&E schedule.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Scavatti moves to approve the schedule that Commissioner Lewis seconds. Any discussion or?
Mr. Chairman, I've been talking with staff, and I know when we're in Baton Rouge, we typically start at 9, and we start 10 when we travel, and I thought maybe it would make sense next year, especially for you all who drive in, keeping caught in the traffic, that when we're back in Baton Rouge, we start the meetings at 10 as well. To give you, I know we've been having a lot of traffic issues, and I live 5 minutes away, so it doesn't bother me, but just a suggestion, we may have to talk to staff about that.
Sure.
If y'all are interested in that.
Well, I don't have a problem with 9, but any other commissioners, or it might help Commissioner Campbell. I know he usually spends the night before, and I do quite often also.
I'm an early driver.
I'm okay with 9.
I'm okay with 9.
But
I'll leave earlier, Mr. Chairman.
He's helping you out, my friend. I was trying to help you out.
I appreciate the offer. Looks like we're all okay with 9. Thank you, though.
I'm good.
I want to add, on April 15th, Tax Day, that's the month that I would like to choose for my meeting, and I'd like to have it in Alexandria this time, April 15th. So hope you folks will come. We're going to try to boil some crawfish the night before, so that'll draw a crowd. So enjoy our fellowship. So, any other discussions? And there are no objections, and the schedule has been approved.
And as always, we can move these if need be. I think we tried to avoid every major function. There might be some overlap with some OMS issues, so we may have to tweak it down the road, but obviously that's something we can do. And the chairman mentioned Alexandria in April, so if any of you are thinking out of town, just let us know so we can get that on the calendar. Usually a couple of months is all we need, but just be mindful of that.
Well, you can still look at October for my district, that's all.
Okay, we'll wait to hear. Is that a for sure? Or
Oh, just where, but somewhere in my district in October.
all right, okay. And okay, what are we up to? Exhibit number 3?
Yes, sir. So exhibit number 3 is docket number I-37764, I-37765, and a to-be-determined docket. These are Entergy Louisiana's, Clico Power, and Southwestern Electric Power Company's request to initiate their 2025 integrated resource planning process. It's a discussion and possible vote to hire an outside consultant. Staff issued one RFP seeking a consultant to handle all 3 dockets, and we received 2 qualifying bids. The first was from United Professionals Company of $147,000 in fees and $3,000 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $150,000. And the second was from London Economics of $189,420 in fees and $11,646 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $201,066. Staff makes no recommendation as both bidders are qualified.
Move to accept the low bid of United Professionals.
Second.
Commissioner Scavatti makes a motion to select UPC, seconded by Commissioner Cusall. Is there any discussion or objection? Hearing none, UPC has the job.
Exhibit number 4 is docket number R31106. This is the Commission's rulemaking to study the possible development of financial incentives for promotion of energy efficiency by jurisdictional electric and gas utilities. It's a discussion and possible vote to rehear General Order dated August 28, 2025, pursuant to Commission Rule 43, so this will need 2 votes. At the Commission's August B&E, the Louisiana Energy Efficiency Program rules were adopted and memorialized in the General Order. Those rules included Commission-led public entities programs, which required a budget of 0.25% of each participating utility's 2023 revenues, as well as a requirement that all of those proposed projects include a 10-year warranty on all parts, labors, and power units. During the technical conference discussing the LEAP rules, stakeholders discussed and agreed that the reduction in the public entities budget from 0.5 to 0.25% made sense in anticipation of a substantial increase in overall budgets given the shift from 2012 to 2023 revenues. This reduction in budget seemed to make sense in order to lessen the overall customer impact from that increase. After receiving the utilities' proposed budgets on October 31st of 2025, the overall budget for the public entities program decreased from prior years, which was not the intended consequence, setting the public entities budget to 2.25%. In addition, Commission staff began working with potential contractors for public entity programs and realized the blanketed 10-year warranty included in the LEAP rules was not amenable to every potential type of project under the public entities program, as energy standards warranties varied depending on the type of project being completed. As this evidence was not known and could have not been known at the time of the Commission's consideration of the LEAP rules, staff recommends, pursuant to Rule 43 of the Commission's Rules of Practice and Procedure, that the Commission vote to rehear the LEAP rules memorialized in General Order dated August 28, 2025, to amend said order. If the rehearing is granted, staff recommends that the Commission amend the order to revise it to indicate that the public entities budget goes from 0.25% to 0.5% of the participating utilities' 2023 revenues, and that the warranty language contained in Section 2 of Attachment B of that general order is to adhere to industry standards.
Move to rehear the matter.
And I'll second Commissioner Scametta moves to rehear the matter, and the Chairman seconds it. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, it's moved.
Move to adopt the motion as declared by the Staff Council.
And move to accept staff by Commissioner Scametta. Chair will second. Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, it's done.
Exhibit number 5 is also docket number R31106, the rulemaking for energy efficiency. This is a discussion and possible vote to retain Tetra Tech at the Commission's as the Commission's EM&B contractor pursuant to General Order dated August 28th of 2025. The LEAP rules contemplated staff soliciting Tetra Tech to assist the Commission in implementation and review of the programs initiated thereunder by both the utilities and the Commission's public entities program. After receiving the utilities' proposed budgets on October 31st of 2025, staff solicited Tetra Tech seeking a proposed budget to assist the Commission in evaluating and reporting on each participating utilities' programs, as well as the Commission's public entities programs. The solicitation also sought Tetra Tech's assistance in the Louisiana Energy Efficiency Working Group. Based on staff solicitation, Tetra Tech submitted a proposal which included a budget of $6,881,350 in fees and $1,114,234 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $6.9 million over a 5-year period. Staff recommends that the Commission retain Tetra Tech as its EM&B contractor for the budget of $6,995,584.
I have a question.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Campbell's got a question.
Just, Mr. Campbell, got a question?
Brandon, talk to me about the $6 million.
And
$7 million.
I'll give a brief.
More money than I've ever seen down here.
Me too.
Sure. Now, I'll give a brief overview of my understanding. I'll let Catherine jump in. But as
A little louder. His hearing
okay,
aids
a little bit loud. So this is actually out of the budget, the cap that the utilities are collecting, and it's actually considerably less than the 5% cap.
Correct. It's point.
So their budget comes out of part of the energy efficiency fees that are collected from the ratepayers to run the program itself.
Correct.
Correct. So it's a little bit different than the way we typically hire someone.
I don't want to do this. Mike doesn't want to do it.
Anybody
Now,
question the money here?
Yeah, I'm joining Commissioner Campbell on this. I think it's an extraordinary large amount of money.
My understanding is this particular company is currently working for Entergy, and I think their budget is about $200,000 a year for the Entergy services. I don't see the need for it, and I think it's just a layer of bureaucratic maneuver and build out that was built into the actual program that's largely unnecessary. First, I'd like to defer it and analyze whether we need it in the first place, and see if we can do that, and if we have the votes for it. But otherwise, also, I don't see the need for it certainly to be over the public entity program, since we have hired engineers that have it within their budget to take care of doing this analysis. So I'm opposed to it in general. I don't have a problem with us looking at it under a different light down the road for less money, but I just think that it's an extraordinary amount of money. And where, by the way, does anybody know where Tetra Tech is located, where their home office is?
I believe it's in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't like the idea of us sending ratepayer money out of state either. We did that once with ClearTech, Clear Result, and that was $14 million that left the state. So I prefer to find pathways to, lift up the people in this state versus people in Texas. So in general, I'm opposed to this. I'd like to find another way to accomplish the task with a lower potential
Would you
budget.
propose to defer this to next month?
I would like to defer this, and
Let me
in the
ask a
meantime, try to get together with staff and look at a better way to approach this.
And the chair would second that. And Commissioner Campbell,
Would you join us on this,
What,
to defer it?
yeah, let me ask you a question. CLECO, you said Energy?
Entergy.
Energy has
They use
obtained
these people, yeah.
$200,000 compared to $6 million. What's the
So
difference?
that's what they do, and their contract, my understanding with Entergy, expires at the end of the year.
Okay.
I think the $6 million is over 5 years, is that right?
Yes, sir. I'm not sure what the contract amount is for Entergy Louisiana, but the $6 million covers 5 years of services for all of the participating utilities in energy efficiency, which is the 3 IOUs and then 4 LDCs. So it's a broader scope of services.
Okay, so we have Commissioner Campbell has asked for it to be deferred, and the chair would second that motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Lewis?
Yes, sir. I think I want to contextualize what this conversation is about. So when we changed the energy efficiency rules, if we remember correctly,
Yeah.
each utility hired their own EMV contractor, evaluation, measurement, and verification. And I think in the discussions, we said, well, instead of having each energy efficiency program evaluated separately, it would make sense for the commission to have one contractor that is looking at all programs. So the program for Entergy, CLECO, SWEPCO, now our gas components who we added in the rule, and then also the public entities program. And so while I hear the concerns of $6 million, I think we have to put it in context of how big of these programs that this contract is doing. That is, we're looking at 3 electric utilities programs, 4 other programs, and so we've been debating, I think, energy efficiency for a long time here, and it seems like we always come back, but I don't see what else we would do and what else a month would do for us, because we had long presentations from multiple contractors. Captain, you can correct me if I'm wrong. How many, when we were going to the statewide administrator, applied to be our EMV contractor? Was it, I want to say my memory was like 8 or 9.
I wanted to say more like 5, but
I may be thinking of the
I think you're thinking of the
Yes,
administrator.
absolutely.
I think the EMV contractor had a little bit less, but there were still several competing companies, yes.
So, I mean, in theory, if we kind of look at their overall budget for a 5-year work, we're talking about $1 million and some change per year for those programs. And so I just wanted to make sure we kind of contextualize the contract.
And I have the breakdown by year.
Okay, can you please tell us the breakdown by year?
Yes, hold on, sorry.
Simple math, it was 1.4 million. I don't know if they break it down.
Roughly. So for 2026, the proposed budget would be approximately 1.2 million. 27 would be 1.4, 28's 1.6, 29 and 30 would be 1.7. So that's where you get the total of 6.1. Now that's for the electric. And then they broke it down also for gas. Gas, I'm just going to say the years 26 through 30. Gas is approximately $170,000 in the first year, and then it goes to $194,000, $225,000, and then $256,000 for a total on the gas component of $847,000. So that's where you get the total of the roughly $6.8 million.
Okay, thank you.
So do we need to have a roll call vote on this?
I think the boomers have it this time.
What's that?
Y'all have it this time. I think we're not going to object to you.
Okay, good. All right, well, it's done. It's in the books.
And just to the people, the IOUs, the gas companies, and all players in this, I'd like to, meet with y'all when you have time between now and the next meeting in January. I just going over the numbers that were stated by council, and just to put it in perspective, the gas analysis by this contract was like $190,000. That's the amount of money that they're charging an electric utility right now to do the analysis over an electric IOU versus a gas company, which is decidedly smaller. So I'd like to sit down with the various utilities and find out what real numbers need to be when we look at this. So I'm available at your call. So thank you very much, and we'll be looking forward to meeting with you.
Okay, so we're moving on to Exhibit 6.
Yes, sir. So exhibits 6 through 9 are all energy efficiency, and they're all the retention of the respective districts' engineers. So we're going to start. Exhibit 6 is docket number R31106 for energy efficiency. It's a discussion and possible vote to retain an engineer for District 1 pursuant to the general order dated August 28th of 2025. And based on that commission general order, Commissioner Skrmetta nominates Nathan Nunez of Linfield, Hunter & Nunez to serve as the engineering firm for District 1 for 2026. And staff recommends that the commission approve Vice Chairman Skrmetta's nomination of Linfield, Hunter & Nunez to assist District 1 with its 2026 political subdivision energy efficiency program for a total budget not to exceed 1% of District 1's total budget for its public entities program.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Move to accept staff recommendation by Commissioner Skrmetta. Chair will second. Any discussion or objection to your discussion, Commissioner Campbell?
These are all the
Engineers.
engineers.
Yeah.
I'm the only district that doesn't have an engineer. The reason I don't have an engineer, I took out bids. I think we've done a better job saving money, but I just want to let that know. I mean, everybody has an engineer. We don't have an engineer. I'll make sure that all the work is bid out. We've been able to save a lot of money, and I think we've done a good job. So that if anybody wonders why we're not doing it, we're not doing it because I think we've saved money by simply calling up the credible engineers in town and asking them to come up with a bid. Sometimes we saved hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing this. But anyway, that's just my opinion. So I want to let you know that I'm aware that we didn't submit a name, but that's why we didn't submit a name.
Okay, this is covered 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that right?
Yes, sir. You want to just do them all together?
What's that?
Can we do them all together?
We could.
In Globo?
Yeah, so just let me clarify. NRAs would be exhibits 7, 8, and 9.
Okay.
Our dockets are 31106. It's a discussion and possible vote to retain an engineer for Districts 2, 3, and 4. District 2 and 4 nominate D. Hicks Consulting, and District 3 nominates Bonton and Associates. All would be up to 1% of each respective district's public entity's budget.
Okay, I'm not a lawyer. Did you call that Globo? Is that what you
And Globo.
Okay, in Globo.
That's okay. I
All
went
right.
to law school twice.
For all you lawyers, y'all like that. So it's, we have a vote and a second in discussion.
I'll
Will we need
refresh my motion to make it for all four engineers.
Thank God I'm sitting between two good lawyers, okay. All right, so there's a motion and a second, and there's no objection, and a few additions here, so 6, 7, 8, and 9 are approved.
And Chair, just to clarify, your second on the first one goes to all 4.
Yes, I did.
Got it.
Second all 4 of them, all right.
Thank you. So moving, Exhibit 10 is deferred, so now we're going to move to Exhibit 11, which is docket number S37736. This is CP Tail Network Services petition for designation as an eligible telecommunication carrier within Louisiana for the limited purpose of offering lifeline services. It's a discussion and possible vote on a staff report and recommendation. September 23rd of this year, CP Tail filed its petition with the Commission, and it was published in the official bulletin with no interventions. As set forth in that petition, the company plans to offer all the supported services required by the Act through its own and leased facilities. On November 24th of this year, staff filed its report and recommendation on the company's application, which found that CP Tail had demonstrated consistent with the requirements of the Communications Act, of 1934, applicable FCC regulations, and the Commission's ETC general order, and that it will make available to its customers universal service offerings that provide all the services supported by the Federal Universal Service Program, and that it appropriately advertised those availabilities. Accordingly, staff recommends that the Commission approve the company's petition to be designated as an ETC in the designated service area so that the company may provide supported voice and broadband services solely for the purpose of receiving lifeline support, subject to the Commission's standard conditions in granting ETC designation. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the staff report and recommendation filed into the record on November 24th of 2025.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Staff recommendation by Commissioner Scametta, seconded by Commissioner Kusoff. Any questions or discussions or objections? Hearing none, it's in the books.
Exhibit number 12 is S37737. This is Brightspeed of Louisiana and Brightspeed of South Arkansas's request for a letter of non-opposition for the parties' issuance of guarantees and pledge of assets as security in connection with the issuance of notes of Parent Connect Holding. It's a discussion and possible vote on another staff report and recommendation. On September 23rd of this year, Brightspeed filed its petition with the Commission seeking an order of approval or non-opposition. It was published in the Commission's official bulletin with no interventions filed. The company's request was submitted pursuant to the Commission's general order dated March 18th, 1994. Upon review, staff determined that the proposed security interest presents no adverse impact on customers' competition or service quality, and the companies affirmed that the services levels, rates, and Commission oversight will remain unchanged. Additionally, the transaction is expected to strengthen Brightspeed's financial position supporting broadband investments in Louisiana. Based on the foregoing, staff filed its recommendation on December 5th of this year, recommending that the Commission expresses non-opposition to the request, subject to the standard conditions for loan non-oppositions. Staff recommends that the Commission expresses non-opposition to the request to the conditions contained in staff's report and recommendation filed into the record on December 5th of 2025.
I make a motion that we accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Commissioner Campbell moves that we accept staff recommendation on number 12, seconded by Commissioner Scametta. Any discussions or objections? Hearing none, it's in the books. 13.
Exhibit number 13 is docket number S37762. It's Magnolia Water Utility Operating Company request for a letter of non-opposition to enter into a credit facility with CoBank. It's a discussion and possible vote on a staff report and recommendation. On October 21st of this year, Magnolia filed its request with the Commission pursuant to General Order dated November 13th of 1996 and March 18th of 1994, seeking the authorization for Magnolia to enter into multiple advanced senior secured loans with CoBank. These loans will be used for purposes of capital contributions in support of Magnolia's expansion projects as well as closing costs. The request was published in the Commission's official bulletin and no interventions were received. Magnolia seeks to enter into this loan agreement valued at $40 million with CoBank for up to a 20-year term. The loan will be in multiple advanced senior secured amortizing term loans, and the assumed interest rate for purposes of evaluating this has been set to 6.5%. The loan is also to satisfy the formula rate plan requirements, which makes Magnolia have a balanced capital structure of 50% debt and 50% equity. On December 3rd of this year, staff filed its report and recommendation into the record concurring with Magnolia's assertion that the request is in the public interest and will have no immediate effect on rates and the terms of services and conditions. Staff also had the standard loan non-opposition conditions in its recommendation. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the staff report and recommendation filed into the record on December 3rd of 2025. And before you guys have a motion on the floor, we do have one yellow card from Ms. Connie Norris that would like to speak.
Before we get the yellow card to speak, I'll just put a motion on the floor to accept staff recommendation.
A motion by Commissioner Scametta, and a second by staff.
No, he can't second the staff. It has to be
one of you.
It has to be one of us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I'll second.
All right.
Second by Campbell.
Second by Commissioner Campbell.
Now we can hear the yellow card.
Okay, who's the...
Okay, and Ms. Norris, if you're in the audience, you can come to the table.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, my name is Connie Norris.
Could you speak a little
I'm
closer
sorry.
to the microphone, please?
I'm sorry, is that better?
Yeah, much better.
Thank you. So, good morning. My name is Connie Norris, and I'm a lifelong Louisiana resident, but I'm also a resident of St. Tammany Parish. And the reason that I'm here today is to talk about and ask that the interveners be given an opportunity to review this. This was presented and put under a separate docket number than the current docket number, which is U37584, which is currently before the administrative law judge. And so we are asking, the reason why you did not have any intervention is because of the fact that it was under a separate docket number. We would have intervened or asked for your assistance in possibly reviewing this. And a couple of the other things and reasons that this is going, because we have some serious issues. We just, with Magnolia Water in our area, we just got from under a boil water advisor, which we get all the time. And then just as recently as yesterday, green leaves turned the water on and pure mud was coming out of it. So we have some issues about this, as well as some financial questions. We recently were, the board approved the $8 million to be passed on to your ratepayers. They also had access to almost $200+ million in credit recently, as well as now you want an additional $40 million. So we're asking that you either defer or at least allow us an opportunity to review this, or put it under the docket of U37584. That's what I'm here today for.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Commissioners, I've been asked if you guys could speak either up or closer to the mics, just so the audience, both YouTube and here.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. There we go.
Okay, good job.
Catherine, can you speak to the two separate dockets, please?
I can, or I don't, Mr. Viswanathan, would you?
You're good.
Yeah.
I can speak to that, Commissioner. Commissioner, as Arvin Viswanathan on behalf of LPSC staff.
You need to speak in the microphone.
I clearly do, Commissioner. I don't think my mic was on. In this matter, Magnolia filed a request for a renewal of their FRP, and that was docketed as U37584. This matter, which is unrelated to the FRP renewal, was a request for non-opposition of Magnolia to enter into a loan with CoBank. As they were unrelated, they were placed in two separate dockets.
Okay.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask someone from Magnolia to come for a quick question?
Andy Ezell with the Ezell Law Firm, and I'm counsel to Magnolia Water Utility Operating Company.
Thank you, Andy. My question is very simple, because I'm just making sure and hearing Mrs. Norris's concern. So when you come back with your FRP, as we kind of go through the process, and now that we're giving this $40 million loan, can you describe at a high level the type of projects that are expected to fund these system acquisitions, plan upgrades, and how customers will see those investments reflected in their services of quality?
Well, there's no doubt about it. Every dollar that we invest, whether it's equity capital or it's borrowed funds, goes into the acquisition, ultimate repair and rehabilitation of the systems that we own and we operate. We are very careful, in making those acquisitions to ensure that we do not overpay and that we have sufficient funds to do that restoration. By adding additional customers, we increase the number of customers that are paying the rates, and thereby increasing that denominator reduces our ultimate rate as established and passed on to the ratepayer. So these funds primarily will be used, as we said in the application, for additional acquisitions as well as the restoration, rehabilitation of the systems being acquired. I think that the Commission will see a lot of progress on the part of Magnolia in the coming year in dealing with rate structure and improving the current rates as they apply to all of our customers. And we're looking forward to ultimately getting the Commission's approval of our FRP extension so that we can make those efforts beginning in September.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, and I just wanted to kind of contextualize the conversation. And the last question I have for you is, do you know if the current leverage ratios compared to the target under your FRP, how will this taking on this debt affect your revenue requirements? Do you see some natural changes to your revenue requirements in the FRP, or do you think this will?
Do not.
Okay.
In fact, very little. I think you'll be very pleased with our filing in May.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Andy, I just wanted to, real quick, I just want to, again, appreciate Magnolia and your commitment to working with our staff on all these issues that Commissioner just brought up, and how critically important it is on the due diligence side of these acquisitions to ensure what the impact will be on the current ratepayer. So thank you for the work that you put into it. Thank you for the work that your executive team has put into it, and we look forward to working with you all a tremendous amount in the first quarter of 2026.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so
Motion and a second.
we have a motion by Commissioner Skrmetta and a second by Commissioner Campbell.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just saying we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Okay, and no other discussion or opposition? Okay, well, it's passed.
Exhibit number 14 is docket number U36644. This is the Commission's audit of the fuel adjustment clause filings of Clico Power for the period of January 2020 through December of 2022. It's a discussion and possible vote on a joint report and draft order. Bless you.
Excuse me.
The docket was initiated by Commission staff consistent with the Commission's general order dated November 6 of 1997. The purpose of the FAC audit is to determine whether fuel costs were appropriate and eligible for recovery through the FAC consistent with the Commission's general order, and whether they were properly included in the FAC, and whether the costs were prudently incurred and produced just and reasonable rates. Staff filed its audit report on July 31st of this year, finding that Clico complied with all of the Commission's orders with respect to the charges allowed in the FAC, and that Clico's accounting processes were generally accurate. Further, staff found that the processes by which costs were incurred were reasonable, and therefore the resulting rates were just and reasonable. Staff's report recommended that Clico should implement more efficient record-keeping and auditing processes, and that certain costs relative to Madison 3 should be reclassified as transportation costs in those filings. On October 24th, Clico filed correspondence into the record indicating it did not oppose staff's report. Therefore, as there are no unresolved issues, staff and Clico filed a joint report and draft order into the record on December 5th. Staff recommends that the Commission accept that joint report and issue the draft order filed into the record on December 5th of 2025.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Move to accept staff recommendation by Commissioner Crusoe. Seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Any discussion or objection? Hearing none, it's passed.
Exhibit number 15 is docket number U37483. This is Beauregard's application for an increase in rates, approval of formula rate plan, including modifications to the terms and conditions, and for interim rate relief. As a discussion and possible vote on an uncontested stipulated settlement. January 14th of 2025, Beauregard filed its application, and it was published in the Commission's official bulletin, and one intervener, Mr. Brian Zelenek, intervened. However, his intervention was later dismissed. The Commission authorized Beauregard an interim rate of 40% of the overall requested base rate increase and implemented tariff changes related to the high load factor and high load factor air separator plant. After review and analysis of the filing and testimony, staff and Beauregard reached a stipulated settlement, and on November 3rd of 2025, Beauregard and staff filed that into the record. The major terms of the settlement are as follows. Beauregard shall be authorized to implement an increase in base rates to achieve a revenue requirement resulting in a modified debt service coverage ratio of 1.80, which equates to approximately $7.75 million. The incremental revenues in the approximate amount of $1 million shall be allocated and dedicated to ordinary placement within Beauregard's capital work plan, and more particularly vegetation management. Beauregard is also authorized to reestablish a formula rate plan as fully described in its FRP rider, and that should be shot for a 3-year term with filings in 27, 28, and 29. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the uncontested stipulated settlement filed into the record on November 3rd of 25.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Commissioner Scametta moves to accept staff recommendation,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Kutzall.
Let me ask you a question.
And so got a discussion question by Mr. Campbell.
This has nothing to do with this item. I apologize for.
That's okay.
Commissioner, can you speak into your mic a little bit,
Use your
please?
microphone a little bit better.
Thank you.
I apologize. I should have brought this up earlier, but anyway, we're all aware that electricity rates are going up, 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 up. I remember, Eve, you remember when people would pay 10 cents per kilowatt hour. I thought that was high. Now we're approaching 15 cents. So I hope everybody realizes there's no such thing anymore as cheap utilities. It used to be, we said it was never nothing cheap, but they were reasonable. At 15 cents per kilowatt hour, I don't know if that's reasonable or not, but if you look at the front page here that we got them to do every time we have a session now, we can look in there and see what your utilities that you regulate, all of them, or what they're charging now. So I just want to make that a point that 10 cents per kilowatt hour is over with, and we have to struggle to make sure that it doesn't even get higher. 15 cents is really, really high, and a lot of them are approaching 15 cents. My hometown, SWEPCO, is right up there among them at 15 cents. So anyway, I just, as Father Time is speaking here, I've been here a long time. I remember when 10 cents was something. Now 10 cents is a bargain. Now it's approaching 15 cents. And we got to work hard to make sure that it doesn't get even higher because that is really hurting people especially on a fixed income paying their bills. And you know how you don't have it, if you don't pay your bills and it's 20 degrees outside, you got a heap of problems. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Is there any other discussion or additions? So hearing none, it's passed.
Exhibit 16 is docket number U37565. This is Deepwood's Utilities application for an increase in water and wastewater rates. It's a discussion and possible vote on an uncontested stipulated settlement. On April 22nd of this year, Deepwoods filed its request with the Commission and requested an increase in rates as a result of increasing costs of operating expenses and cash reserve to not be able to repair or replace its infrastructure. The request was published in the Commission's official bulletin and no interventions were filed. In the application, Deepwoods explained that its financial sustainability received from Louisiana Rural Water Association was below the 1.5 sustainability factor used. The company received a financial sustainability rating of 0.75. However, Deepwoods expressed with their proposed rate increase, the company's financial stability would increase to 2 and 1.5. Along with this factor, Deepwoods stated that the company's current rates are insufficient and should be increased to meet the increased cost of all permissible company operations. Staff verified the company's 2024 expenses through its financial statements, and based on staff's review and documentation provided by the company, staff recommends that the Commission authorize a RONM of 19.33%, and that's to allow Deepwoods an adequate margin of revenues over its expenses. To achieve this desired RONM, staff recommends that the Commission approve rates that will generate an additional annual revenue in the amount of $34,164. Deepwoods indicated its agreement with staff's recommendation, and an uncontested stipulated settlement was filed into the record on November 17th of 2025. And staff recommends that the Commission accept the uncontested stipulated settlement filed into the record on November 17th of 2025.
I believe this is in Commissioner Campbell's area.
All right, this is where we used, I think, some good judgment. They asked for $22, and I think we gave them $20. And we were, everybody has money that they want more money. I haven't seen anybody say, look, we'll take a cut in rates yet. I've been here a long time, but I have never seen anybody say, hey, how about cutting us a little bit? But that's not just utility business. That's like everything else. Although I did hear where gasoline in Monroe this week was something like $2.15 or something. That was
Yeah, we were
big,
$2.12.
$2.12 or something like that. And it's $2.30 something or $2.28 or something in Shreveport. That's another subject for another day. But oil companies seem to be doing very well.
So they're all, did they convert to Democrat, to oil companies? the price is going down.
You keep that up, they'll be going over there. You keep Mr. Trump, everybody's going to be going over that way. But anyway,
It's only
our
517 in
appraisers,
California.
the staff is looking at this. We're saving some money here, and we didn't give everybody exactly what they wanted, so I approve this. Staff recommendation. Make a motion to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
Commissioner Campbell make a motion to approve, and second by Commissioner Scametta. Any other discussion? Hearing none, that's passed.
Exhibit number 17 is docket number U37594. This is Entergy's Formula Rate Plan Annual Evaluation Report for test year 24. It's a discussion and possible vote on a joint report. The proceeding was initiated on May 30th this year when Entergy filed its evaluation for the test year ending December 31st of 2024. The filing was noticed in the Commission's official bulletin, and Lug intervened. Pursuant to the global settlement in its most recent rate case, Entergy applied a special earnings test to its test year 2024 filings. The terms of that test provide that if Entergy's filing demonstrated an earned ROE greater than the allowed midpoint, any revenue corresponding to such exceedance would be refunded to customers. Entergy's filing demonstrated an eROE of 9.98%, and as such, a customer credit of approximately $31 million was determined to be owed. Subject to the Commission's review and refund, Entergy implemented the rates reflected in the test year 24 compliance update, including credit associated with that special earnings test credit, beginning with September of 25 billing cycles. Entergy filed an interim update to its filing in order to reflect the expiration of that credit, and on August 20th of this year, staff submitted its errors and objections report finding that Entergy's test year evaluation complied with the provisions of the terms of the settlement, but reserved its rights to review those credits. Entergy reviewed the revenue data and determined that as a result of the higher than average monthly usage, the actual amount of credited to customers was slightly over the $31 million. But however, Entergy communicated those results to staff at affirmation that Entergy did not intend to seek a true-up of the excess credit. Staff agrees that the credit was overpaid and does not dispute any remaining issues with Entergy on the filing. During the pendency of the review, Entergy also submitted a second interim update to the test year 23 filing to reflect retail effects of its divestiture of the Grayton Gulf Nuclear Station and to implement an FRP revenue increase associated with Hurricane Francine recovery cost. On December 9th, staff and Entergy filed a joint report confirming that they had no outstanding disputed issues existing with regards to the 24 test year and requesting the Commission accept the joint report. Lug did not oppose that report. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the joint report filed into the record on December 9th of this year.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Scametta.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman, but can I have a representative from Entergy for one
Seconded by
question?
Commissioner Lewis, and you have a representative from Entergy, Mr. Larry Hand.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Larry. And reviewing this, I just kind of wanted to make sure we were clear on the record with the combined effects of the special earnings credit that we've worked through and then the other FRP adjustments. This would result in about almost a $5 monthly bill decrease for residential users that are around 1,000 kWh. Is that correct?
So I don't have that number in front of me.
Hold on.
How about now? Okay, I don't have that number in front of me, but if you think about what happened is in September and October of this year, that's when we began to flow back to customers the required credit. And for the record, Larry Hand on behalf of Entergy Louisiana. So we did flow that back over the 2 months, September and October. And then we stepped down the credit beginning in November. So if this is accepted, there's no further rate changes. It's already all happened in the past. All that we are doing is effectively for administrative convenience saying even though we credited back more than required under the settlement, about $2.5 million more, due to administrative convenience, the cost of effectuating a true-up, a bill, we're willing to waive that to close out the docket. So apologize if I don't have the math on that number, but
No, that's totally acceptable. I just was kind of walking through some of the changes that we looked at with the special earnings credit and then some of the FRP adjustments and how altogether the maneuvers that you just spoke about and their tax rates. I did have a question about the recent tax changes. How does that affect your revenue requirements?
Can you be specific as to which tax changes? Because they're changing all the time.
Right, that's, yes, I should be a little bit more specific. I know the recent state law changes here in the state of the corporate rate.
And I'll speak generally. If you have more detailed questions, I have my Director of Reg Affairs who can probably answer it. But, generally speaking, the state tax rate, changed. It went down. It went lower. And generally, that's a good thing, right? So it lowers the statutory tax that's included on our rates, but also it had some effects in terms of the ADIT balances that Lane Sisson can speak to. So on the net basis, I can't give you the number, but it had a plus and a minus, and I think someone can correct me, I think on average it had the effect of we needed to, I believe, charge a little bit more to take care of the ADIT. But Ryan, do you want to come on up? And he's free to contradict everything I just said because he knows it much better.
Hey, good morning, Commissioners. Ryan Jones on behalf of Energy Louisiana. And I think what Larry said is effectively correct. There were gives and takes between the state taxes and federal taxes. They end up getting balanced in the formula rate plan based upon existing provisions that were in there to handle previous tax rate changes. There's deferred tax rate impacts. There's income tax effects. I think that Larry is correct that on a net basis it was a slight incremental collection that we had.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, move pass.
Thank you.
Exhibit number 18 is docket number U37704. This is Utility, Inc. of Louisiana's request for review and adjustment of base rates following the merger with French Settlement Water Company, modification and extensions of its formula rate plan, a depreciation study, modifications to its tariff, and interim rate relief. This is a discussion and possible vote on interim rate increase pursuant to Rule 57, so this will need 2 votes. And this is at the request of the Vice Chair. On August 12th of this year, UIL filed an application requesting an adjustment to its base rates as well as the implementation of interim rates. In the application, UIL proposed an interim to achieve approximately 1/3 of its overall requested rate. UIL further indicates that it's prepared to post its financial security, ensuring that any amount deemed unrecoverable after final commission review will be refunded to ratepayers. Staff recommends that the commission exercise its original and primary jurisdiction under Rule 57 to consider this request. And while staff makes no formal recommendation regarding the interim rate increase, staff does note that pursuant to applicable law, any interim increase should be subject to refund and applicable bonding requirements. Therefore, if UIL's request is approved, staff would recommend that UIL be required to file proof of the applicable bond requirements with the Commission, be required to file an updated tariff indicating the interim rate and its terms with the Utilities Division within 30 days of an order approving the interim rates, and that UIL cannot begin charging the interim rates until proof of the applicable bond requirements and an updated tariff have been provided to and approved by staff.
Move to bring the matter up under Rule 57.
Move to bring the matter up under Rule 57 by Commissioner Scametta. Is there a second over there?
Oh, yes, second.
Second by Commissioner Cusall. All right, do you move?
Any opposition? Okay. And I move to approve the staff recommendation.
Commissioner Scametta moved to approve staff recommendation.
I'll second.
And Commissioner Cusall second. So any discussion, objection? Hearing none, it's passed. 19.
Exhibit number 19 is docket number U37799. This is Dixie Electric Membership Corporation, AMET Solar, and AMET Energy Storage's joint application for certification of a battery energy storage agreement and approval of the third amendment to the AMET Solar Power Purchase Agreement between DIMCO and AMET Solar. It's a discussion and possible vote to hire an outside consultant. Staff issued an RFP and received 1 qualifying bid from United Professionals Company for an amount of $68,000 in fees and $2,000 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $70,000. Staff makes no recommendation as a sole bidder is qualified.
Move to accept the bid of the sole bidder, United Professionals.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Scametta, seconded by Commissioner Lewis. Any discussion or objection? Hearing none, UPC has the job. 20.
Exhibit 20 is a docket to be determined. This will be Entergy Louisiana's request for proposals for a standalone battery storage system resources. It's a discussion and possible vote to hire an outside consultant. Staff issued an RFP and received 2 qualifying bids. The first was United Professionals Company of $58,000 in fees and $2,000 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $60,000. And then the second was from London Economics of $162,936 in fees and $2,178 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $165,114. Staff makes no recommendation as both bidders are qualified.
Move to accept the low bid of United Professionals.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Scamatta to accept UPC, seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Any discussion? Hearing none, UPC has the job.
Exhibit number 21 is also a docket to be determined. This is Atmos Energy Corporation's upcoming application for renewal of its rate stabilization clause rider. It's a discussion and possible vote to hire an outside consultant. Staff issued an RFP and received 2 qualifying bids. The first is from Exeter and Associates of $95,765 in fees and $3,000 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $98,765. And the second is from J. Kennedy and Associates of $311,800 in fees and $8,100 in expenses for a total budget not to exceed of $319,900. Staff makes no recommendation as both bidders are qualified.
Okay, we have,
I move to accept the bid of J. Kennedy.
moved to accept the bid of J. Kennedy.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cusall. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, it's passed.
Exhibit number 22 is our reports, resolutions, and discussions. We have a couple of items under this exhibit this month. The first is under reports. There's an update from Jefferson Davis Electric Cooperative on the construction of its 230 kV transmission line. And you all should have a copy of the presentation in front of you. Kara, is anything in the presentation confidential? Could we post it on the website? Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Kara Cantrell on behalf of Jeff Davis, and I have Mr. Mike Heinen, CEO and GM of Jeff Davis, who is here to give a little update. You got your own back. You want to use this one?
Morning, Commissioners. Mike Heinen, CEO of Jefferson Davis Electric Cooperative. As you know, in 2020, we had hurricanes Laura and Delta that were several weeks apart and completely devastated our service area, whereas each line section needed to be touched, which is a very heavy undertaking. Along with that, we had about 105 miles of transmission that were completely down on the ground. And what made these storms different than the others, this transmission line, the towers that crossed the Intercoastal Waterway, unlike in Rita 05, those towers went down. They were built in the 50s and crashed to the ground. Along with the towers that went over the Mermentau River, crashed to the ground as well. Obviously, we spent a lot of time with FEMA and deciding what to do. We had a 138 line that came from southeast of Lake Charles all the way down through the marsh that went to a Creole bulk station, which fed the 69 line that was located on the coast. That 138 line went down, the 69 line loop went down as well. In talking with FEMA, with a lot of talks, they were going to have a fast track of putting a underground line under the Intercoastal Waterway. That fast track was going to be 6 months, and the infrastructure along the coast is considered to be a critical infrastructure for the United States, being that you serve petrochemicals, all industry pipelines, all those things that need to be there for shipping and delivering of petrochemical products. Having a company or a individual from FEMA, an individual group from FEMA that came down and looked at our system, specifically saying that we should think about upgrading our 69 kV line loop that goes from southeast of Lake Charles all the way down to the coast, across the coastline to Holly Beach, and then north to Hackberry. And we agreed with that assessment. During that assessment, we met with FEMA, and FEMA decided, which is a first time, one of a kind that's been ever done, there's no way we could build a transmission line fast enough in order to serve the coastline. So we decided to go with a upgraded 230 line because of the multiple events that happened. We had Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Ike, Hurricane Laura, Hurricane Delta that hit our service territory and devastated it all those years. Hurricane Rita in 2005, same year as Katrina. And from that point on and on. Getting with FEMA, we decided are we going to do the same thing of rebuilding it the same way, or are we going to upgrade and harden the system and make it a bigger system, better system for the entire state of Louisiana to have a transmission line that will withstand the forces of a hurricane, Cat 5 hurricane, being 165-mile-plus winds that will come through. So having said that, we made an agreement with FEMA for the first time. They agreed to have generators along the coast to serve the people while we get in line to build a new transmission system. The generators along the coast were located in 4 different spots, of which we're going to be there for an estimation of 5 years, and at a cost a considerable amount, between $3.5 to $4.5 million a month for the generators and the fuel to run them. FEMA agreed. We had everything in place, and last month the generators are fully decommissioned and offline, which is excellent news for the community of Cameron, the parish of Cameron, and for Jeff Davis Electric Co-op as well. So we're very excited that happened. We rushed 5 years, but we rushed to get to where the generators were so we can take the generators offline first. We will complete the loop feed of the 230 system sometime Q1, Q2, Q3 of next year, depending on who you speak with at the engineering company. So pretty fun to know that the project will be complete. I will go off. I wish everyone had a copy of the report that I'm giving in front of them, but I will go off the report now. That's the general basics. But the basic is we're off of the generators, and we had a total of all the structures that have been there. I saw the number of 1,280 structures that were put in place over the system that is there now. And all of this system has been put in place. It has not been energized completely, but all of this, the system, meaning the poles, have been put in place. Ongoing work, crews are installing and the remaining conductor. I'm on the first page. Demolition of remaining pre-storm distribution and transmission continues, of which, and then they have construction of substations. I will explain better as we go through the pictures. Some of y'all are cheating and going in front and ahead of the picture. I see you. So since you oversee me, cheat all you want. As of November 19, 2025, all generators have been decommissioned. JDEC is operating on permanent transmission power, grid power. All land rights and right-of-way have been secured. And understand when you build a transmission line, it normally takes 10, 11, even more years to get everything you need. We've done it in 5, or on the way of doing it to 5.5. The remaining transmission and substation construction under 428 projects will be complete in Q1. 428 and 4 programs, that is the remaining financing that we're getting from the state under CDBG funds in different buckets. And there's different buckets. I will stop and ask for questions.
Mr. Campbell has a question for you.
Certainly.
These pads that you put out to put cranes and bulldozers on and everything, the patch lay in the marsh. How much do they cost?
The total line costs around $400 million.
No, I'm talking about per. Do you have any idea?
For each one was different depending on the size of where it was, but it wasn't cheap. It came for a total of 400, of which for the first time ever FEMA prepaid for the construction of the line.
Where do you buy them from? Because we have a lot in that country up there now with Haynesville Shale. They're using a lot of them. I see them stacked up. Where do y'all buy all these big timber from?
Timber, we got, it's a company called Diamond D was our contractor. Where they got the timbers from, I could not tell you, Commissioner, but Diamond D had the contract. Diamond D is a local company out of Sulphur that did all of the mat working that is there.
They furnish you those, the mats?
Yes, they furnished all the mats.
You rent them or you buy them?
Anything you get from FEMA, you rent. You do not own them. They will not let you buy anything and own anything. If they pay for it, you rent it. You're not able to gain anything from whatever.
They're not like a railroad tie. They're much bigger than a railroad tie.
Yes, sir. They're very
double size.
And matted together and stacked upon each other. I've never seen so many mats in all my life. And knowing what I used to do on the farm and go across a creek with barely a board, seeing the mats that they used out in the marsh was impressive.
Yeah, we have a lot of them stored up our way. I don't know how much it cost. It had to be astronomical, though.
It was astronomical. And Diamond Dina did an excellent job of putting the mats down and getting the work done, but it was all necessary because of the area that we...
It's all oak lumber, too.
I'm sorry?
It's oak hardwood lumber.
Yes, I would imagine it would be. I'm not an expert on wood, but it was...
Not treated.
It was not treated.
It's raw.
It's raw wood. Used wood. Some of it lost in the marsh and will never be seen again, but yeah.
Can't use them twice.
Some of them you can't get out after you put them in. Sort of like stepping in the mud with your rubber boots.
I just imagine some of it's next to the boot I lost and some of that stuff.
Absolutely. But I'm not telling you where or what, or because I don't want anybody to go and look, okay? The first page you see of pictures. The first picture you see is the structures that are going over the Intercoastal Waterway located at the Gibbstown Bridge. The structure that was there was built in '57. It was a skeleton type structure, lots of iron, lots of bolts, and they've been there for quite a while. Now the structures are steel, 2 steel poles that go over the Intercoastal Waterway, and totally different construction than what it was before. All of the construction you see is rated for 162-mile-an-hour winds to withstand any hurricanes that may come about. The other things that you see are places where the substations are located. One of the substations you see there is called the Fulton Substation. It is the closest to the Gulf that you can get. With the Fulton Substation, it serves Cameron. If you can look closely, it is at the bottom right picture that you see. You will see the transformer is elevated on top of a structure. That transformer is about, I would say, 10 to 12 feet off of the ground, as is the entire structure that works as the substation on that site. Not only that site, but I think 11 substations through our discussions with FEMA have been upgraded to a 500-year floodplain plus 1 foot to get all of the substations off the ground to where they're elevated and will not be inundated with water should a storm hit the area again. Water damage was the biggest damage we had that came through. Trying to get transformers after that was a definite problem, but this should save the transformers and save the substations from being rebuilt along with the transmission system. If a hurricane should hit, we're looking at distribution system only, and that would be a tremendous savings. I can't guarantee that depending on what the weather does, but that is the plans. We'll put it that way. Second picture, the 230 electric KV stronger for Jeff Davis Electric JDAC. You can see the helicopters, the I had the name of the helicopter in mind, but I can't think of it at this point in time. It's a definite sight to see a helicopter, a pole flying through the air and being connected to, if you look at the next page, which is a caisson. Caisson is something they drive in the ground. The caissons are between 15 and 20 foot in length that is vibrated into the ground and put in the areas to where it had to be and engineered to where it would withstand the wind ratings that we had. And the vibration system is just that. It's hollow in the middle and it has a machine that vibrates it very technically, and then the pole is placed on top of it and then bolted down. And all of those poles at this point in time should be put in. Not all of the conductor, not all of it clipped in, but all of the poles are in at this time. The magnitude that you see of the construction of a 230 line is on the next page where you see it says Chenault Material Staging. The 230 kV line staging area is located near Chenault Airport. It was not the only staging area. What you see is a small part of a staging area, one of the staging areas. It was a massive undertaking for JDAC and and FEMA. I must give them credit, obviously, and the contractors and construction companies that put it together, which was QSID, which is Quanta, and Irby Construction is the one that put the system together. The next page, again, is a Fulton substation that is complete. You can see again, the transformer is elevated along with all the structures that are elevated. And the far background where you see the stacks of what looks like truck trailers that you see for 18-wheelers, those are the stacks of generators that we had sitting there for 5 years, along with the mobile home where a person was on site constantly for those 5 years with fuel plugged in constantly the whole time. So, like I said, it was a major undertaking with a lot of cost, but we do believe, along with the engineers, that this particular system, you not only see the transformer that is above ground, you see I call it a cabin, but it's the structure that holds all the electronics that are above ground as well. I'll stop there. Are there any additional questions at this point? Yes, sir.
Some of your substations are not complete. How can you get off generators and your substation's not finished?
We planned it in such a way that we raced to where the generators were first. So it's a radial line going down to the coast at this point, going to each one of the points of where those generators were, and directly engineering those points first where we could put out distribution. And then the substations that are not complete or will be completed, that is for the loop system. When we finish getting from Chalkley, which is southwest or southeast of Lake Charles, going all the way around to Hackberry, to a substation called Crown, which is being built now. Those are the ones that have not been finished, or the ones that are being part of the loop system.
All the generators are off now.
All the generators are 100% off.
What about another thing for maintenance long-term and corrosion? I see all those poles in the marsh, a lot of corrosive area there. I know they're all galvanized poles, and I see they got coatings on the poles, but is that going to be a responsibility of Jeff Davis to
At first,
monitor
yes,
maintenance on
we're
the poles?
depending on a company that we've contracted with to do the O&M on the line. At this point, we pay a fee for that. But long-term, we have applied and are trying to be a member of MISO and get that line put into the MISO system and run just like every other transmission line that benefits the state and the nation as a whole, and put that as a item for MISO to do the O&M and the maintenance on the line, just like they do all the other transmission in the state of Louisiana.
So MISO would be responsible for the
That's going to be
roads on the pole?
That's going to be up to you 5 gentlemen sitting up there in the front as we have applied to get into MISO and have asked y'all to look at the system. There is no other 230 line in the state that's not in MISO, but this line is going to be a you can call it interstate highway for electricity that can serve the state and the nation and better, just like all the other transmission system does in the state of Louisiana.
All right.
So that is coming up soon, hopefully. There you go.
The application's been filed.
The application has been filed.
Do you want us to keep going through the pictures, or?
Kara, Mike, please, speak into the mic.
Would you like us to continue going through the pictures, or is this good?
If you say yes or no, I'm still going. I'm very proud. I mean, you can tell me that.
I already went through them all, so.
Thank you. I'm still going.
I actually went and I was in Chenier and saw some of the work in person when I was driving down one of the roads and actually saw the.
It's impressive, isn't it?
But it was about a year and a half ago.
It was still impressive then, too.
Yep. So I actually saw the work in process.
Yeah, it is a dream come true. It's a hard way to get there, but it is a dream come true.
You know, because one of the things I was thinking about when I saw it was how, after this work is in place and how the potential is for helping redevelop the coast for people to use the power.
Absolutely.
And, you know, because without the resources there, you know, most of the coast is largely isolated and unused. But, you know, with the resource of new power and secure power down there, that communities and potentially vacation homes in that area may actually return to the coast, and I think that's great.
Couldn't say it better, Commissioner. Thank you. Appreciate it and agree with you. Sir.
How many meters in Cameron Parish?
Down below Intercoastal Waterway, about 2,000, but we're expecting
2,000 meters?
We're expecting growth.
$400,000 transmission line?
$400 million transmission line.
Let me say something.
Of which Louisiana ratepayers had paid nothing for.
Right.
It's all FEMA reimbursed.
All our friends over Vermilion Parish and Pecan Island are jealous of you. They wonder why they don't have a 230 line over there.
As well they should be. But
Yeah.
I don't want them to get it the way we did, because it's a storm that caused all this to happen. But I must give kudos to my engineering firm and FEMA and all of my employees and everyone that came together to find a solution to where we didn't have to do this again. We qualified for this line because we've had multiple events. Once you go through a Rita, once you go through an Ike, once you go through a Laura and a Delta, and what's the definition of insanity? Keep doing the same thing, you'll get the same results. We decided to do something different, and FEMA was on board. So
Is that Royal Engineering?
Royal Engineering, yes, sir. They were extremely helpful in getting everything done. Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Mr. Campbell?
That's remarkable what y'all do down there trying to build. I know about building fences a good bit, a little bit, not like you folks. It's remarkable how y'all can take nothing and build fences and put down poles that will withstand all these high winds. I looked at some of the pictures. Like I say, a picture is 1,000 words. These are 10,000 words. It's unbelievable how you do. You take these machines and put them on the pads, operate them, forklifts, whatever you got to do in the middle of the marsh and build a high line.
Commissioner, to tell you the truth, amazing watching not only the helicopters, but they actually put some of the caissons down from the road. Putting the caissons down is a 5-minute event of shaking it and 20 minutes of measuring to make sure it's in the right place. If you go to any place, any spot on our system, and get to where you can see 2 or 3 miles of line, you cannot tell a millimeter apart from one pole to the other. It is a remarkably straight line. That how they do it. The engineers are amazing, and I don't normally say that about engineers, but kudos to them for that and developing the system to be able to do that.
Let me know what I can do to help you, because it's unbelievable what the people went through down there.
It is. It is.
Unbelievable.
We're thankful for a lot of things. The people are very cooperative in that we've shut down roads and do the things you have to do to get a line built. We had to get some land right-of-ways, and we worked with a lot of people doing a lot of different things. So there's not enough time to give the people credit that I would like to give credit to, but suffice it to say that the people are amazing that we work with. But I'm still going to continue just to show you the GIW every crossing of building those structures on the next line. The Mermentau crossing is amazing in that, again, it's a two-pole structure. I'm on this page for those who have went ahead of me. I'm still bragging whether you like it or not. It was an underground line. We figured the overhead transmission was better because it was actually cheaper than going on the ground, for one, and it'll be easier to maintain in the long run. On the following page, a Holly Beach coastal transmission line, you can see how that line differs from what the line that was there before along the coast. We do anticipate the coastal line being energized and helping with the entire coastal waterway.
Time out. That's enough, Mike. We got the message.
I'm looking at all of them.
Thank you for that fine report.
Sure.
Anybody else?
No, you should be proud of what y'all did, so thank you so much for doing it.
There's no picture of me in there, so we can go on. All right, thank you.
for the time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank each one of you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is number 4.
So yes, sir. So we are still under exhibit number 22. We have 2 ratifications this month. The first is discussion and possible vote to ratify the votes cast by Vice Chairman Scrametta, acting as the Commission's representative on the Board of Directors of the Organization of MISO States. This is for ratification of votes taken on November 11th, 2025 by Commissioner Scrametta as the Commission's representative.
Move to ratify.
Thank you.
Second.
Abstain.
Any
So
objection?
motion by Commissioner Kuson, seconded by Commissioner Francis? Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Any objection? Hearing none, we accept that vote. Thank you.
Also move to ratify the intervention of Louisiana Public Service Commission, RTO-related or other federal energy regulatory proceedings.
Second. Catherine, do you have to read the in-ray? Is that required?
Usually. So let's just discussion and possible vote to ratify interventions of the Commission in RTO-related or other FERC proceedings.
Okay, so second.
Moved.
Thank you.
Got a motion by Commissioner Scamato, second by Commissioner,
We got it.
I'm sorry.
No, that's what we got it.
First.
Kusan first, second by Commissioner Scamato. Sorry about that. All right.
Okay, and we also have 2 directives. I'm assuming, Commissioner Kuson, would you like me to read your directive, or would you like to read it?
You have the final version.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, I'd like you to read it, and that will be my directive request.
Commissioner Kuson's directive is as follows. Governor Landry's Louisiana Lightning Speed Initiative calls on state agencies to work with the Louisiana Economic Development with the goal to accelerate the timelines required for major employers to invest, build, and grow in Louisiana. In many subject areas, Louisiana looks to competing states for best practices in public policy. However, Louisiana is now ranked as top 10 state by the Area Development Magazine for doing business, including number 1 for energy costs and number 4 for energy availability. Louisiana is indeed well positioned to maintain and expand our advantage, but we must continue to modernize our regulatory tools and processes. As Louisiana Public Service Commissioners, we now have a unique opportunity to create a regulatory pathway that enables Louisiana to be a consistent leader in attracting major employers. To that end, I would like to implement an initiative designed for speed to market and economic development-driven power needs while also ensuring protections for existing ratepayers. The LPSC Lightning Initiative will set the standard for public policy and be the model that other states need to emulate. The amendment, this is the actual directive, to support the governor's initiative and ensure utilities can meet the power needs of new and expanding load, I request that the Louisiana Public Service Commission adopt the following regulatory pathway. 1, the requirements of General Order dated October 14th of 2024 for docket R34247 are considered waived for a proposed capacity addition where the following factors are demonstrated and proved in the certification proceeding. A signed electric service agreement with a new or expanding load with a requested initial in-service date within 5 years of the certification application. Without the proposed capacity, the utility is projected to be short of the energy or capacity needed to meet the customer's electric requirements on the requested in-service dates. A letter from the Secretary of Louisiana Economic Development confirming the customer's interest and the importance of power availability within the 5-year initial in-service date. The ESA has a term of at least 15 years with an option to renew. The ESA ensures that a level of fixed revenue over the term of the ESA that will cover at least half of the fixed revenue requirement associated with the requested capacity during the term of the customer ESA. Further, any certification proceeding that is filed consistent with the requirements of this directive, I direct staff to take reasonable steps to ensure that those applications are received and processed on a timely basis, including retention of counsel and consultants as necessary, and handling any matters that arise with the interventions, with the objection of the Commission being able to vote within 8 months of an application. Any utility seeking to take advantage of this regulatory pathway shall communicate with the Executive Council at least 60 days prior to any filing made at the Commission. Nothing herein shall be construed to relinquish the Commission's authority over the proposed capacity additions, including but not limited to the determination of whether the capacity addition serves the public interest and the prudence of the utility's management of the procurement, construction, or contract administration associated with such capacity additions. Further, nothing herein shall be construed as restricting or limiting any party's participation in a certification proceeding that is filed pursuant to this directive. We do have 2 yellow cards tied to the directives as well that would like to speak.
Okay, Catherine, as a quick follow-up, number one, for those who, the stakeholders who played a role in getting to some of those final terms and terminology, as you can hear from the reading that we did make some conciliatory changes for various stakeholders to really mirror the success that we saw from the staff standpoint through the meta deal. And although no deal is necessarily going to look like the meta deal, we feel like that was a great baseline. So to the extent that we needed to modify my original draft, we did that in this final draft. And we'll circulate this language, obviously, after this meeting. Number 2, I just want to thank the governor for really inspiring me on this matter as he called for an LED lightning speed initiative. And we were laughing when I determined this was a lightning amendment, and some people thought it was a lighting amendment for the efficiency program. And I said, no, I want to be done with the efficiency program. This is lightning. So we got through that, but the governor is intent on moving this state forward. We have been last in so many things for far too long, and we're seeing some material success in growth across sectors, including industrial load, commercial load, and all of the utilities that are impacted by that are subject to our regulatory process. And how do we get to businesses moving here and growing their job creation? How do we get there in an efficient manner without giving up so many of our protections for our ratepayers? I believe that we've got the capability to do that. Our staff, our stakeholders, our regulated utilities, each have the capability to achieve what we all want to achieve in a shorter amount of time. And therefore, that's what drove me to create this amendment, which if you satisfy a few of those hurdles, then you can be put into this new regulatory process. It's not going to be for everyone, but it will be for those that comply with the directive. So with that, I just ask my fellow commissioners for their support, and of course, willing to listen to anybody that wants to speak on the issue.
Okay, Commissioner Francis has left the room, so take it over. Any opposition to the directive?
Wait. We have 2 yellow cards that would like to speak.
I'm just asking for questions on the directive, and then we'll go to the yellow cards.
Okay.
I'll be objecting.
Okay, that's fine, just to know. Okay, can we have the yellow cards, please?
So we have Mr. Andrew Carnegie-Baker and Ms. Loganberg, if y'all want to come up.
Are they present? Yes. Yeah, come on up to the table, and we'll hear your comments. Well, other than you, you are coming up, Brandon? Okay, great.
And I'm sorry.
I know the microphone with the yellow tape is functioning, so you can just take turns with it if you like.
Or you can try the red one on this table behind us as well.
And please say just your name and who you represent. And I believe you already filled out the yellow card. So
I did.
Good.
Andrew Carnegie-Baker. Check. Andrew Carnegie-Baker with the Greater New Orleans Housing Alliance.
No, it's still not. I'm sorry.
Try it again. Let's see which. That one's better. Oh, they moved them around on you. There you go.
Andrew Carnegie Baker with the Greater New Orleans Housing Alliance. The public has watched with concern as proposals have been put forward that could expedite approvals and eliminate important guardrails, effectively allowing utilities and large customers to move forward with minimal public scrutiny. Under one proposal, utilities could potentially bypass a long-standing market-based mechanism that ensures we get the lowest cost energy options and sidestep processes that give residents, small businesses, and independent experts a chance to review and respond. We cannot accept any shift that reduces transparency or weakens public participation in decisions that will ultimately affect every ratepayer in the state. Louisianans already struggle with high utility bills and are rightly concerned about how the cost of new infrastructure, especially for power plants that may operate for decades, could be shifted on to households with little public oversight. Louisianans deserve a process that values our voices, safeguards our pockets, and ensures our grid remains reliable without sacrificing accountability of utilities or other large corporate interests. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Logan Burke for the Alliance for Affordable Energy. Actually, before I move forward, I have a question because hearing the full directive was a bit challenging, and I just want to clarify if there was any additional process that is allowed after this directive, meaning any rulemaking or any kind of a process apart from the directive.
I mean, there will be the actual certification proceeding should a utility want to come in and seek commission approval, but no additional.
No additional. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So thank you. I want to actually start, Commissioner Kusan. Thank you for making some adjustments, recognizing that there is a need to slow some things down here. But I still am really concerned that it moves us from the meta floor to a basement. I know there is a lot of pressure to move and respond to a marketplace and to provide some kind of certainty. I understand that. But we don't think that an end run around good, reasonable policy is a good way to move forward. Competitive bids are not meant to slow a process. They are meant to ensure we are all getting the most reasonable deal for every ratepayer dollar. If this commission chooses to remove some of those ratepayer protections, including the requirement for competitive bids and an appropriate amount for deliberative process, that will mean the legacy will be decades of sharply increasing bills. And that would be this commission's legacy. Some folks might think of regulation as a bad word, but it is intended to be a balanced policy-making process that sets expectations for all of us, including markets and investors. If we throw this policy that we've had in place since the 1980s and only recently updated to make it even better into the garbage, it makes it look like this is a more unstable regulatory body rather than consistent. If this commission wants to send a signal of certainty to the market, this lack of process isn't it. You guys have a real opportunity. Again, understanding the amount of pressure that you are receiving from other elected bodies, but you are 5 elected, duly elected decision makers who get to make these decisions. You have an opportunity to get it right. It's important to define the actual problem, define what a large load is, and put policy in place that allows for the growth you want without the risk you don't. As always, our ask is that this commission put people first. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think Randy
Young, be next.
Thank you, Commissioners. Randy Young, and I'm here on behalf of Louisiana Energy Users Group, or LEUG, and as you all know, that's a group of industrial customers that buy a lot of power in the state, buy a lot of power from Entergy in the state. So, Commissioners, I want to lead off with saying, look, it is a fantastic, wonderful thing that we have all this opportunity before Louisiana right now. Our group is about economic development, and we love economic development, and having all of this potential for Louisiana for growth is a fantastic thing. But what you'll also hear from us as a group is that we're ratepayers. And so we think it's extremely important that as the commission considers the opportunities and the state considers the opportunities, that we think about the existing ratepayers and bringing some balance to the process in whatever we do so that the existing ratepayers are protected. So when we think about the market-based mechanisms order that we're talking about today, that's a rule that's the commission put in place about 20 years ago, and we see it as a ratepayer protection rule. The objective of it is reliable power at the lowest reasonable cost. Reliable power at the lowest reasonable cost. And it's got some disciplines that are put in there to help control the cost of utility new build generation. It helps discipline that process and trying to keep the cost down. So if you're going to talk about waiving that rule, having some balance to protect the existing ratepayers is very important to us as being part of that conversation. And so when we looked at the proposed Lightning Directive, we said, okay, it's got a lot in here trying to advance economic development, but we believe it needs to bring some more of the ratepayer protection piece of it. And so there's three primary points that I raised in a letter to all of you just in the last few days, trying to suggest let's bring some more balance to the process. So one of those provisions was, there's a provision in there that if you're going to waive the rule that the electric service agreement, what we call the ESA, electric service agreement, had to be at least 10 years. And I pointed out in the letter that Meta was 15 years, and it sounds like you're changing that 10 years to 15 years. So thank you for that.
We did.
But one of the things I put in the letter to emphasize is that we believe that instead of 10 years or 15 years, you should start out saying, look, we want the electric service agreement to be the same length as whatever generation you're building, unless, like in Meta, you come in and demonstrate on a case-by-case basis that there's some protections in there for the existing ratepayers. And that's what we did on Meta. Meta, you had the full case before you, and you said, here's all these list of protections, and we think that's good enough to waive the rule. And you did waive the rule for Meta. But what we're saying is, if you're going to let them have a shorter than a full depreciation life of this new generation we're going to build, look at those protections on a case-by-case basis. And so that was item one. That was one suggested change, even to the 15-year part. The second suggested change is that the way it's worded right now is it says that you can waive the rule if this new load is going to come in and pay at least half the cost of the new generation. And when we look at the Meta deal, they came in and said, whatever new generation we need, we're going to pay the full revenue requirement, the full annual installment for that generation, as long as we have this contract in place. This looks like it's changing that to at least half. And so we see that as a pullback on that floor we thought we had with Meta. And so our point on that is that, look, if you need new generation and you want to waive the requirement, commit to paying the full cost of whatever generation you need, not just half of it, commit to paying the full cost. And I believe Commission's consultant has testified that, look, they need to carry their own cost. So make it the full cost, not just half the cost. The third primary point that I want to emphasize, Commissioners, is that this focus is on lightening things to move forward and move faster and try to get this economic development. I get that. But I think it's also important to consider, are there some lightning protections we can put in place for the existing ratepayers? And I think there's more to this conversation that should be had. And so one of our proposals was that just allow a 90-day process to say, stakeholders, y'all come to the table and tell us what you think we need to do to protect the existing ratepayers, and come back on that in 90 days and call it lightning protections. And so you're looking at lightning ways to move forward for the economic development, look at lightning protections too. And we think that's an important addition that should be in here. And so I ask you to really consider those 3 points. One about the length of the electric service agreement, unless they bring you some ratepayer protections. Number 2 is about paying the full cost for what they need, not just half. And number 3, create some lightning, a little short process, just 90 days, to look at lightning protections for the existing ratepayers. And we believe that's very important, and we appreciate your consideration of those points. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad to answer any questions.
Hey, anybody else has a question for?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Young. I'm looking over your letter and your proposed red lines or in just some of your comments that you just made. And so I want to go back to something you just said about protecting the ratepayers. And so what you're saying and what you're proposing is that we should have a dialogue process that includes looking at various components of what it means when we suspend the MBM order. And let me contextualize that for you for a second. I mean, when I think about the market-based mechanisms order as it's written, as we've amended it, it is meant to showcase that we are looking at the most reliable cost option that gives certainty to Louisiana people that we are protecting them. The current existing rules allow any utility to file an application and ask for suspension of the MBN order, which is what we did in the Meta deal. And there was a case that was presented of why the suspension should be granted, and ultimately the commission granted it. I guess my concern, and maybe this is where you're going with that, is if we completely eliminate the requirement to make the case, because you just meet the 5 listed criteria points, how can we come on the back end and then really understand whether or not that is in the best protection? I know we're still going to certification, so I don't want to jump and say that we wouldn't still go through a litigated proceeding, fact-finding analysis, but in my eyes, I'm struggling to see that if I give you a blanket waiver from the start, how do I then protect ratepayers by making the case that I am looking at the reliable least cost option? And so is that what you believe a 90-day period could answer?
That's the essence of it, Commissioner. So when we look back at what happened in Meta, you had the whole case filed in front of you, so you got to look at the whole picture. And so, okay, I'm willing to waive the rules, seeing this whole picture and everything before you at one time. This is stepping back from that and saying, well, let's do a waiver under a more limited set of conditions without having that case yet. I haven't seen it yet. And so if you're going to do that, and I get the reasons of the desire to have that rule in place, but if you're going to do that, let's also have a 90-day dialogue about what can we look at as protections for the existing ratepayers, and some lightning process to look at that side of the picture as well.
Yeah, no, I was watching the Select Senate Task Force on Modernization, and I was listening to Secretary Bourgeois at LED, and it's not often I quote Jeff Landry, but I'm going to quote him today, where he said he wants to protect the Louisiana consumers as his #1 priority while balancing economic opportunity. And me and the governor don't share a lot of opinions, but I share that opinion with him, that I think there is a balance that we have to it. I think where I am concerned, and looking at your letter, share some of your concerns, is that we are off-shifting that balance, and that we're finding a level. And so I appreciate some of your comments. I share those beliefs, but I just wanted to ask you those questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry.
Mr. Young, how many members do you have in LUG?
26 companies, Commissioners, and that's a range of everything from chemical manufacturing to refining to pulp and paper, steel, pipelines, so it's quite pulp and paper, sawmills in there too, so it's quite the mix.
Is your group growing? Do you have new members? Have you had a new member lately, or are you soliciting new members?
We're always interested in new members, Commissioner, and the group has been stable for a long time, but there are some relatively newer members.
Is Hyundai a member?
No, Commissioner, they're not.
Any data centers? Do you have any data center members from any level of the data center infrastructure, from the developer to the end user? Has anybody joined yet to LUG?
No, Commissioner. So all of the members have existing loads in Louisiana, and so none of those are.
So the existing loads, is there a chance that those loads might increase with your existing members?
Always, Commissioner. I mean, this group, like I said, is about economic development, so they're always looking at ways to increase their investment in Louisiana if they can.
Is there a chance that your customers, your members could benefit from this directive, regardless of whether in the current state or as amended by your request? Would they ever fall into a category where the new generation proposed would be assisting your membership?
It's always possible, Commissioners, so if one of the member companies has some project that needs a lot of new generation and expansion, so certainly that could happen. But I think what, as we've talked about, the group is a ratepayer group, and their interest, first and foremost as a group, is about having good, competitive rates in Louisiana that's good for overall operations and that provides reliable service at the lowest reasonable cost. That's always the mantra. And so when we look at this, we think about, okay, how do we create balance? So what you hear about us a lot is balance. Get the economic development stuff, that's really, really important, but how do we balance that and make sure we're looking at ratepayer protections?
So who handles the economic development side? Is that the Louisiana Chemical Association or one of those other groups as far as, really soliciting membership, having events that really highlight the success of the industrial corridor, the employment numbers, the hundreds of thousands of people that are employed around Louisiana from southwest to southeast to the Mississippi River corridor? Who is in charge from your perspective in the industrial world? Is that more of like a Chamber of Commerce function, or is that something for one of the associations?
So I don't know that I think about that question, Commissioner, in terms of who's in charge. I think in general, I can only really speak for Louisiana Energy Users Group, but I know that economic development is important for us too. I mean, we're always looking at what's our rates, what's the environment for investment in Louisiana and expansion in Louisiana. So that's important for us as well.
I mean, you made that clear. You're a ratepayer group.
Yep.
I'm looking at it also from a holistic point of view. Even though we are utility regulators and therefore dealing with rates, we also are on the side of making the state a better place to live, to grow businesses like your membership, to entice more people to get to Louisiana and grow our employment base. We heard from the Alliance for Affordable Energy, and about part of affordability is the ability to have a job to pay for the expenses in a household or at a business. And without those jobs, we're starting from zero. So I want to look at it from the standpoint of the ability to bring in business and create jobs, increase the denominator, ultimately help the rates, but it also helps affording the utility bills that, like Commissioner Campbell said, have over his tenured career have increased as a matter of fact. So that's where I'm coming from with my initiative is growing the economy from the standpoint of our regulated utilities. I think this is a good step in that direction, and I do believe that we are not suspending, besides the MBMO order, we're not suspending the regular process of the ability to intervene and to have stakeholder input, to have public input, and everybody has to just be ready, willing, and able to get this done if the criteria are met in a quicker time frame, very similar to the Meta time frame, which as one of the largest projects in the history of our state, we got done in a 9-month time frame from the time that I was elected to when we took the vote in September. I don't think it's that far of a stretch to say we're going to have many of the same people at the table dealing with our process now in a compressed time frame that everyone's aware of, that we can get these protections in place, that we can protect our ratepayers and also bring these businesses into the state in a manner that our government and our people can be proud of, so we don't have people moving out of the state to Texas, to Florida, to Mississippi to get jobs. They can stay here and work. So I appreciate your work on this matter with me. I know we're not going to be, I know we're not done with this issue as we work through some of the proposals that may come under this directive. But I did, in good faith, change some of the very basic terms, that you discussed, largely in part because of your input, so I appreciate that. And I want to acknowledge the importance of your members and your comments about your ratepayer group. But I also want them to understand that we need them to be at the table on economic development. as much as they are as ratepayers. And we need them to talk about and think about the thousands of people that they employ and the thousands more that we want them to employ. So we do want them to grow. So when you're at this table asking for, possible new transmission or new generation or a determination of non-jurisdiction, that we're ready, willing, and able to act as efficiently as we possibly can to assist your members, just like I'm trying to assist all the other people that are trying to move to our state to take advantage of this proposal. So with that, again, thank you, and we'll continue talking both one-on-one and, as we need to through our meetings.
Just a couple of more notes, if I can, Commissioner, and look, I completely respect everything that you said, and I agree that all the economic development aspects are extremely important. A couple of notes, though. One is that, so it's important to understand that as we think about economic development, is that those competitive rates in Louisiana, that's a big part of economic development. And so if you're going to get those projects and land them in Louisiana, you got to keep those rates reasonable. And so the processes that we talk about and trying to keep those rates reasonable, I mean, what we have today is fantastic, but it's about tomorrow, not just today. And so
I'm going to quote you on that. What we have today is fantastic, because I've been here a year now. Right
now with low gas prices, Commissioner, I say all the time, I mean, we see our rates and we compare them on a regular basis, and we think when we do our 30 southeastern states utilities comparison, Entergy has been around the middle of the pack. Sometimes they tick up when gas prices go up. Sometimes they drop down a little bit when gas prices go down. But we have not been in here complaining about where we are with electricity rates today. Our conversation has been continually about, look, rates have gone up a lot over the last 5 years, about 35% or so, and we see more rate increases coming. And so we see all those pressures, and it's about trying to say, let's be reasonable and let's try to hold on to a good place for tomorrow. That's important for economic development too. The second thing I want to just touch on real quick is that what we're talking about is when we get to the certification case, you will have already waived the rule, and so you already passed that step. In the Meta case, you decided to waive the rule when you had the whole case in front of you. We're not going to have that once this is in place. And so that's why we think, and it's not just, we get about increasing the denominator and bringing more customers and trying to lower the bills for everybody. But when you do these, part of this deal about this waiving the market-based mechanisms order is you're building more generation, so you're increasing the numerator too. You're increasing the overall pot of cost. And so that's why we think just this ratepayer conversation, I get the lightning support on the, let's get to the projects and economic development, but let's look at lightning protections for ratepayers too and have an abbreviated process to open that dialogue. We think that's important.
And to your point about the gas prices, Chairman, Commissioner Scrimetta and I, we're very cognizant of the gas prices as well, and to the extent that those will fluctuate, we need to start a much more in-depth conversation about where we are in our nuclear regulations and make sure that those are up to speed and modernized from the 2006-2007 amendment to our general order that dealt with our the nuclear provisions. So to your point, if we want to make sure that if we have to turn to nuclear options, particularly for your group, that we can get there quickly, and we can change the timeline from a 10-year rollout on new generation to a 5-year rollout, and whether or not our current rules account for that compressed time frame, which again the market in nuclear energy is moving to a tighter timeline. So that's our next focus, Commissioner Scrimetta. You're in charge.
And so we have a lot of views on that topic as well, Commissioner.
I'm just waiting my turn.
You'll hear the same theme from us. It's about how do we do things and protect ratepayers and protect our rate structure in Louisiana so we have a good place to do business for the future. And it's about tomorrow, not just today. So.
Good. Thank you, Randy. Thank you.
Randy, sign the clipboard, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
What?
Signs a board.
Huh?
Mr. Chairman? Yeah. Yeah, just a couple of things. First, just Randy, and I just one comment for you, which is, we look at how, these these companies, these data companies or whoever they are, looking to sign energy service agreements for these 15-year cycles. Nothing prevents the Lug members from signing energy service agreements and getting good value for a secondary 15-year cycle and making value of the useful life of these generation units. And it could be a great value to your members. And I'm not looking for a dialogue. I'm just telling you. In fact, you can leave the table. I'm just telling you. So, this could be a real value to your members that can coincide with the value to the economic development of the state and to the general public. And so I think it's a really good thing for not just the state, it's a good thing for your members, and it coincides with their need for power, and it coincides with the need for the new businesses that want to come to the state and do something. I will say that it should not be lost on the general public that the reason we're having this discussion is because of the fertile field that the Public Service Commission, working with, in particular in this, with Entergy, have worked out a great mechanism which caused the Meta Corporation to come to Louisiana and build out this magnificent facility in North Louisiana and create a mechanism which is quite literally the envy of many other states, and which, that they're coming here, they're paying for this system. They're basically a 15-year and then an option 15-year. I think it's a great thing to have the rest of the administration and the rest of the areas of government going, this is a great idea. Now we're going to get on it for economic development. We created, as this commission, in working with the people who participate in front of this commission, we created the mechanism to achieve this goal. Do not forget that no matter what this commission creates through this process, this commission retains plenary authority to engage on how we focus on this. So throughout this process, we retain we got a cotton glove and we got an iron glove. So we have the ability to engage on this process and make sure that the public is protected. And so we can make sure that we can accelerate the process, we can get things going, but I am not concerned as much about what do we do with the second half of the life of a unit, because two things. I don't see these companies coming in and making the economic commitment for a 15-year cycle. I think that's highly unlikely, number one. Number two is we have the ability, not so much over them, but we have the full plenary authority over the utility. So when these utilities need to build power plants and they need to replace power plants, we have the ability to tell them to stop building other power plants that they have contemplated in the queue and to utilize the second half of the other power plants that they have engaged with these new economic development mechanisms. So we have some really good control factors under the authority of this commission, because this commission's not going to be here for a 4-year cycle. This commission's here for rotating cycles of 6 years, and the commissioners are going to be here to ensure the protection of the ratepayers. So I think we're in good shape there. I do think that putting racing stripes on a policy, which was the whole policy of the commission before it started, by calling it lightning is great, but at the same time, it's the same policy this commission here had with Meta, with a modification of how we're going to look at tweaking it a little bit. I'm glad we went to the 15-year element. Personally, I think that's a great idea. I think it puts it closer to the Meta model. But I do think that, everybody rowing in the same direction is a better option than parties pulling in different direction in the boat. So I want your members to get the electricity they need, and they should be looking at this with the opportunity to get exactly that, with someone who's effectively fronting a guarantee of the 50% of the cost of the facility and then them splitting up the difference. You and I've talked to you about the opportunities of the future of nuclear in this state, where we have companies that are looking at fronting nuclear costs.
and taking advantage of economies of scale of your companies taking sections in a new nuclear facility and the potential of having that as an economy of scale value to non-emitting power for your members. So I walk away from this with the understanding that this is it's a process to keep going on this regulatory cycle of a 9-month process. It's probably going to be very similar to that. It's going to move things quickly. We still have to have people who want to do it. We still have the commission authority over the utilities, right? We have this plenary authority, and I want to restate that over and over again, because they're the ones who are going to have to commit on this. But, you know, when we have companies that have double-digit applications for new power plants that are not just for a new, like, economic development, it's for replacement devices, we're going to be in a position to utilize offset to where if we may cancel certain power plants to utilize second-half power plants if that's necessary in the future, right? You and I are going to be cold in the ground before that becomes a question, Randy. You don't have to worry about that. Maybe not so cold, I'm just saying. But we're going to be in a good place. We need to leave a process that does not impede our state from accelerating and being hyper-competitive against other states that are dragging the anchor, and that's the key to this. So I just want to let you know we're in good shape with this. And I think the commission, with its authority, can protect the ratepayers. So
Any
that's
objection to Commissioner Cousson's directive?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have some additional comments.
Direct one. Let's.
Additional questions.
You have a question?
And some questions for staff. Yes.
For staff, okay.
I think Randy can be seated, correct?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Young, I don't need you, so you can.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I thought I excused. I'm sorry.
Catherine, can you walk me through, I know in the directive it says there will be a 60-day notice to the general counsel before filing their application, and I'm curious on a process level, how do we verify, in that 60 days, how do we verify that the application has met the criteria, or will we handle that in the certification process itself?
So the 60 days would just be for me to handle any RFPs that I think would be necessary. I think the requirements or confirming whether the requirements of the directive are met would be in the certification document.
Would be in the certification
document?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. The last question I had for staff is, this directive would be in perpetuity, right? There's no time provision on the MVM order suspension, because I mean, I know we're talking about hyperscalers, large loads, data centers, but as I read this would be a just blanket suspension or waiver process until the commission takes other action. Would that be the case?
Yes. I mean, we talked about procedurally, actually, on the way up here, that with this, we would memorialize it in a special order. So yes, it would be in perpetuity unless the commission wanted to vote to undo it at some point.
Okay, great. And the last question is, I know we've talked a lot about large loads, but in the directive, we don't define who it is. So I mean, in theory, any application, whether it is kind of one of these large hyperscalers of these economic development projects, are traditional utility projects would qualify for the Lightning Amendment. Is my reading correct on that?
Correct. I mean, in the way the directive reads, it actually doesn't, I'm skimming. I don't think it really even discusses large load. It just talks about new or expanding load coming to the state that would meet these set criteria that I read out earlier.
I was just going to, mine died. I was just going to add to that. I think while it doesn't define it, it's contemplating something large enough that you would need additional generation to serve. So I mean, we're not talking maybe 5 megawatts, but I don't think that's realistic. I think we're talking large,
4 to 1.
500 megawatt plus projects would be my guess, even though it's not defined. Something that's going to require the utility to build additional generation just to serve that.
Thank you. And I want to thank my my colleague Commissioner Tucson, because I actually don't disagree with the intent of this directive. I do think there are ways and abilities that we have as the commission to ensure that economic development is not hindered by regulation, but my concern is just about the method of how we are doing this. A few months ago when we were talking about some other orders, it was if we changed the system, we would create regulatory uncertainty. It was the main driver that I heard from a lot of the utilities about looking at different models. And then I think it's a little hypocritical sometimes when now it's like, well, let's change the model for us now because of these large load customers. And so it seems like we're kind of going back in the market. And so this was a protection for our consumers. And I believe that while we will still go through the certification process, we will continue to have that. But I do think we should have done this in a more transparent, representative way. I think there are ways and places where suspending the MBM order makes sense. If a large hyperscaler comes and says, I'm going to pay for all my generation, I'm going to bring it myself, absolutely. I think I would agree with it. I would maybe even agree with 80, 90%. However, I would like to have that discussion. I would like to see the evidence, the research, the knowledge that brings us to this table. And so while I appreciate the thought of cutting red tape, I don't think we should abandon some of our given protections for the consumers in terms of economic development. I think the governor said it right. We should be balancing it. And I'm concerned that this process, this way, under this directive, does not create that balance that Governor Landry has asked for us to do in his push to lightning speed Louisiana to these hyperscalers or data centers, our large loads, and whatever we may say. And so while I share the sentiments of my colleague, unfortunately, I will have to object and oppose this directive at this time based off of those reasonings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote to see where everybody stands on this lightning initiative by John Paul Cousin. So we'll start with Commissioner Lewis.
No.
Commissioner Campbell.
Yes.
Commissioner Scametta.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, and how about the one who offered the lightning? You vote yes.
Yes, sir.
It's 4-1, so the directive is in the books. Okay, well, where are we at on the next one?
We are still on exhibit number 22. We have one more directive. It's a directive to open a rulemaking to consider a framework for establishing new large load, and this is a request at Commissioner Lewis, and I'm assuming you would like me to read it. Okay. There is a growing opportunity and challenge in Louisiana's electricity sector related to the demand of larger single loads known as hyperscalers, with their unique needs challenging the energy landscape for years to come. Recognizing these developments, the people, businesses, and government of our state have all taken a keen interest, often with some concern, in how we responsibly accommodate these new projects. Through these conversations, it's become clear that the Commission should establish policies that provide large new loads with a clear and stable environment in which to pursue their projects in Louisiana while also protecting existing ratepayers, preventing cost shifts, and supporting long-term reliability. Therefore, I direct staff to open a rulemaking docket to investigate and propose a regulatory model that addresses the key elements of how large loads connect to the grid, procure energy capacity, and share cost. The resulting framework should provide a strong baseline for the expectations of new projects while preserving maximum adaptability to accommodate the unique demands and prerogatives of new customers. The docket should look at, but not be limited to, an examination of defining large load customers, guaranteeing strong protections for existing customers through cost causation measures, minimum bills, cost caps, or other contract terms, requiring large load customers to contribute towards programs and riders that benefit the greater electricity system, enabling faster, more transparent grid access, incentivizing new flexibility and demand management programs as it relates to these large loads, incorporating novel energy procurement arrangements, and enhanced stakeholder processes. One of the goals of establishing this framework would be to ensure that the public interest is considered in a transparent and deliberative process while balancing economic development, improving grid reliability, and protecting affordable rates. Further, staff is authorized to seek outside assistance if determined necessary to assist in this rulemaking to be conducted in a thorough manner and concluded expeditiously.
Thank you.
Objection on the directive.
Okay.
Thank you. Let me explain what I am attempting here. All states red, blue, purple. 33 states, 16 have passed some type of large load tariff, large load framework, consideration. 17 additional states are currently in their policy-making process. States like Missouri, Ohio, Florida, Georgia, Texas. So what I am proposing here today is to say, let's have a process to define what a large load is. Is a large load 50 megawatts? Is a large load 300 megawatts? Is a large load 2,000 megawatts? What should those framework protections be? This is not to create a one-size-fits-all proposal. This actually doesn't even compete with Commissioner Kusan's directive. It's actually complementary because it says, let's look at some of the other factors that the Alliance for Affordable Energy brought up, that Mr. Young and LAUG brought up, and it's to say, let's create a process so that we all know when we're talking about a large load or we get to that certification process, that we're looking at what that means. What does it mean to be a flexible load? What does it mean for customer protections? What are those considerations that the commission will evaluate? Because as we know, each deal will be different, but I believe if we're going to talk about a regulatory framework that sends a message to the market, I think the best message we send to the market is, how will you be evaluated? Because while we did Meta one way, if another data center comes, we may evaluate them completely different. We may have a different measurement, a different marker. So this directive isn't a rule. It is to create a frame, and it's like a rubric, so that customers know. And so that's what it intends to do. But I would, Mr. Sissing, if you could come to the table, because I have some questions for you since we've been discussing this for quite some time.
Come on up, Santa Claus.
Lane Sissing, United Professionals Company, consultant to the Louisiana Public Service Commission.
Thank you, Lane. And we've been talking about this concept actually for months, or even before the last B&E, that this has been something you and I have discussed. And since you were our point person on Meta, and now your experience using it, do you think that giving new large load customers clear sightlines for how our process works can help bring these projects in a smarter way?
Yeah, as within those discussions, yes, I would not be in favor of a large load tariff that would be commission-wide. I would not be in favor of telling each utility even to draft its own tariff for approval, because I think there has to be flexibility in how the utilities are dealing with these unique structures. And if there was a rulemaking that established the framework, as you said, identify the things that the customers' utilities need to address: stranded assets, cost allocation, reliability, potential interruptible solutions to reliability issues. A rulemaking that was just to touch on the frameworks of what needed to be addressed is what you and I had discussed.
Yeah, thank you, and that's exactly what I'm proposing. Let's create a process to have those discussions. It's not to stop any project, it's to say that, just as you said, if we are going to talk about grid stability, let's identify and give the utility, give our consumers, and give any customer that wants to come to Louisiana, this is what we're going to look at. This is what we're going to evaluate you on. As you said, I'm not proposing a large load tariff. This directive doesn't say to do that. I know other states have, and that's, I think, the beauty of this moment is we're seeing each state, each commission handle it very differently. Missouri recently just did a tariff. I don't think that's necessary, but in Louisiana, based off of our ecosystem, but this would be a process to do so. So do you think, let me ask this question. What would you count as a large load?
Well, that's actually under discussion in federal discussions right now. They went as low as 20 gigawatt, I believe. There have been proposals to make it 100. I don't think it is well defined as we sit here today. I think that in listening to the dialogue that Mr. Fry had just now, I do believe that the point of the large load consideration is whether or not you're having to build new generation to serve it. So large load could be anywhere within a framework. I don't think it's the size as much as the impact.
Yeah, And I think you're right. I mean, I think that's the questions that I think commissions across this country are facing, and we are, especially as we see these hyperscalers, as they're being called, coming towards the state. But you do see that would be value in creating some type of framework or having a discussion of protections or giving clearer guidelines, that there's no harm from your vantage point in us as a body having discussions of what we should consider.
As long as you're not prescribing any outcomes and you're just identifying the issues, I don't see any harm. But I would be concerned if there was, if you were to try to prescribe specific outcomes or specific barriers or hurdles, because I think each deal is going to be unique, and this commission needs to retain its ability to look at each deal as it's presented.
I 100% agree with you. I believe flexibility is our ultimate need, but giving a framework is also a need. So everyone knows exactly how we are evaluating these. And in this directive language, as I stated, I have 0 outcomes. I have questions of what we could consider, even more ideas of things that we consider around load flexibility, around reliability, around how do we actually protect our consumers. And so I think this is a conversation that we're seeing across the nation. As I said, almost a third of the commissions have either done this or are finished. They all have very different ones. There's not a one-size-fits-all model. But I'm struggling to see the harm for us to tell the Louisiana people we're actually going to talk about how we do this. And so I want to thank you for working with me and talking through this with me over the months. And I will continue working with you regardless of what happens up here today. But I think it's important that we as a body look the Louisiana people in the eye and say we're going to protect them. And we're going to look at those questions. And I don't think it harms. I know there was some concerns from some of the utilities that somehow opening this proceeding or having these questions would bring market instability. I completely reject that theory, because if we can change our orders in a lightning speed, how does that not bring instability? And so I'm struggling here.
All right, thank you.
No, Mr. Chairman, no, that's unfair.
Thank you.
When Mr. Scrimetta wants to talk, he's to talk all he wants. I'm making my comments now.
I didn't say shit.
Okay.
Let's just be respectful up here. I understand y'all have a difference of opinion. I understand you're going to kill everything I want to do.
Okay,
but let me talk.
You got your message. You got your message.
Thank you. I'm over the disrespect up here.
I'd like to ask Commissioner Sisson.
No, sir.
No, sir. Do you think some industries would look at a directive like this and say, it's just more red tape that we have to go through to work in Louisiana? Do you think that an industry could possibly say something like that?
I mean, as I have explained, it depends on what is in. If the rulemaking was simply to identify the issues that would need to be addressed, but not have any prescription whatsoever on how it would be addressed, I don't see that causing a big concern. But if there was any, I do believe there would be a concern if they felt that the product of this would establish criteria. They would want to know what that criteria is before they continue their working through the process with the utilities. So.
Okay, well, thank you, Santa Claus. And let's.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes.
All right. When I initially read this directive, I don't necessarily think it conflicts with my directive, because my directive deals with new generation and yours deals with the loads, but when I read it, and I'd like Mr. Sisson to read it again when we're all back home in our offices, I really think that we already cover most of what we have written in this directive. It literally is the process that we go through when analyzing every single opportunity that we have. The only thing different is that you're trying to apply it to large loads, which is undefined. So by its very nature, as being undefined, maybe that's the gap. But otherwise, every single line in here is something that I believe our staff and our experts that we hire, our consultants, are actually doing in our process. So in some ways, I think it's a solution in search of a problem, but you have identified where that gap is, which is just not identifying which the large load number is. But that, again, could be a national question rather than just a state question. It's an industry question rather than a commission question. And looking at it, I think there might be a better approach to kind of the uncertainty that you're identifying here, which is, through our IRP program. The IRP comes, how many years are our IRPs in place?
Those are on 3-year cycles.
So on 3-year cycles, the plans have to be presented to us. And, perhaps there's a thought process where, in the case of a large load, we get some more information on an interim basis rather than waiting that full term, rather than necessarily needing a whole new rulemaking to understand what our capacity limitations are. So that's kind of where I want to look at it from here, because I think his idea did spark some more curiosity on my part, and of course on the rest of the commissioners' parts. I'd just like to leave it with that, and if you don't mind, I'd like to defer this for another day, so without a vote. But I think it could lead to some more conversation with some positive thoughts.
No, thank you, Commissioner. And I take your comments, especially on the IRPs. This has actually been a conversation staff and I had with that very theory. So we are having those conversations, and I respect everyone up here, but I believe this is important. This is my district. People of Louisiana have been asking these questions, and I think it's imperative that we show them that we're going to ask them. So I would object to the deferral.
Okay, so we need to, Chair will call for a vote since we have looks like we're unclear on how the commissioners.
So it's a motion to defer by me, and then we're taking a vote on it. He objected.
Okay.
I made a motion to defer. He objected, and so now we're voting on that.
Okay, well, I would second your motion to defer. And is there objection to?
He already
objected. So we'll call a vote on it. So Commissioner Lewis, how do you vote on it?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Campbell, how do you vote?
What was the motion? Move to defer.
To defer.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Tomata.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, and JP votes yes. So it's 4-1. So we'll defer it to be on next month's agenda, right? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Catherine's going to.
All right, Catherine.
Yes, sir. And I should have announced at the beginning of the meeting, we were going to take items 23 and 24 out of order because 23 is an executive session. So we'll handle 24 first and then go to 23.
One more thing, just one little vote.
So exhibit number 24 is docket number U37467. This is Entergy Louisiana's application for certification of the West Bank 500 kV transmission project pursuant to general order dated September 10th of 2024, which is our transmission siting order. It's a discussion and possible vote on a final recommendation of the ALJ, and it's at the request of Vice Chairman Scrumetta. Entergy sought certification by the Commission that the public convenience and necessity would be served by the completion and the siting of the portfolio of the transmission projects of the West Bank of the Mississippi River in Entergy's Amite South Planning Region, including construction of an 84-mile Common Order Churchill transmission line, expansion of the Waterford substation, construction of the new Churchill substation, and improvements to the Churchill substation, and conversions to the existing Waterford to Churchill transmission line, forming a 500 kV loop in the downstream of Gypsy. These projects are collectively called the West Bank 500 kV project. Entergy's application is the third of 5 filings presenting the Amite South Transmission Project, which is a 3-phase project. Entergy contends that the project is necessary to serve projected load growth in Amite South, including unprecedented industrial expansion along the West Bank. Entergy explained that this project would increase its load-serving capabilities by 250 megawatts. Staff concluded that the project met the qualifications for certification and can be approved subject to 2 conditions, which would be Entergy filing requisite construction reports, and that all pending and future transmission certification applications are required to conduct a percent analysis of additional generation and transmission needed and interrelation of those additions. Luke asserts that considering the cost of the project and the uncertainty of the projected new loads, the Commission should defer a decision on certifying the project. The ALJ determined that the probability assessments conducted by Entergy using its own criteria was helpful and impactful in assessing the totality of the evidence presented by Entergy. Luke's suggestion to add a load probability threshold in determining public interest was unconvincing to the judge. In 2024 citing order, the commission provided what should be considered in determining whether a project is in the public interest. Luke also sought a requirement for reporting of status updates on Entergy's probability assessments for the underlying projected load additions cited by Entergy, and the ALJ determined that the commission clearly stated what reporting was, thought it was necessary, therefore Entergy would not be required to provide status updates on the probability of those assessments. Based on the testimony and evidence presented at the hearing, the ALJ filed its recommendation into the final recommendation into the record on December 8th of 2025, recommending that the West Bank project serve the public convenience and necessity, is in the public interest, and in accordance with the Commission's general order, that the retail revenue requirement associated with this is deemed eligible for recovery through Entergy's formula rate plan. Certification is not a determination of the prudence of the final cost, and Entergy will submit final cost of the project in normal rate-making proceedings. Entergy will file semi-annual reports with the Commission regarding construction and shall file a report with the Commission within 120 days after completion of construction. The application and all future transmission certification applications will provide additional information, and Entergy's pending dockets concerning the Amite South Transmission Project, while such dockets are pending, if new information arises about additional planned or needed projects to serve the projected load, Entergy will provide such information as it becomes known. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the final ALJ recommendation filed into the record on December 8th of 2025.
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Move to accept staff recommendation by Commissioner Scamato. Second.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have a second? We have a second?
I'll give a second.
I'll second it. Okay. So now we have discussion.
Catherine, could you please go back over the administrative law judge's finding on the additional communication?
JP, their recommendations.
Well, I'll hear from her, and then I also would like to hear from you because I didn't have a chance to ask you about it.
Sure. So are you talking about the additional information? So
yeah, on the probability of the projects.
No.
So for future transmission certification applications, Entergy is now going to be required to provide additional information on additional generation and transmission needed to serve projected load additions, as well as the interrelation of those additions to the West Bank project.
No, the other portion about the probability of the actual load coming online, it's a probability assessment that you mentioned the administrative law judge talked about.
So Luke, which I'm sure Randy can provide additional information on, sought a requirement for reporting of status updates on Entergy's probability assessments related to those projected load additions. But the ALJ determined that the Commission stated what it thought its reporting was necessary in our transmission siting order. And so because the Commission did not include additional probability of additions in the siting order, the judge thought it was not necessary.
So there's zero requirement?
For additional load in the transmission siting order?
Yeah.
That might be a no question.
There's no monthly reporting requirement?
Correct.
And she found that was sufficient?
Correct, because there are other reporting requirements along the way. So there are construction requirements, and I'm not sure if it's quarterly, but Entergy is required to provide updates already. It's just the judge didn't think there also needed to be a monthly reporting requirement.
I got you. Mr. Hand, could you comment on that for me, please, about the reporting requirements? Because I know we still have some questions about some of these larger loads coming online.
Good morning. Larry Hand on behalf of Entergy Louisiana again. I'll comment on a few things. I think what is being referred to is that the transmission siting order does not require this type of reporting on load probability assessments. It does require, I believe, semi-annual reporting on the construction cost and progress of the lines. A little bit like what you heard from Mr. Heinen earlier on their progress. We do that semi-annually, file it, and I think they may have done the same. In terms of the load forecast, the probability, which is the issue that LEG is currently focused on, I will say a few things. First off, there's no commission rule that requires it, and to adopt that here would say, all right, this is an ad hoc rule just for Entergy, no one else, just for this case. But I don't think it's necessary for a few reasons. One is we already file, at the directive of the commission, quarterly load forecasts So we've been filing those for years. We continue to file those. So those will be one indicia. Now, that is kind of system-wide. That is not just limited to the West Bank corridor we're talking about here. The other thing that I think is critically important and demonstrates further why it's not needed, there's a companion project that was approved by the commission. We were able to reach a settlement. That was the 230 kV project recently approved. Part of the settlement in that case said, by agreement, by settlement, that we would provide periodic updates starting in February of 2026. We'll do it twice a year, February and August. We'll provide these updates to certain discovery responses in that 230 kV case. Load probability assessments that are issued now, that will be part of that update. And importantly, it is exactly the same loads on the west bank of the river from Baton Rouge to New Orleans that will be served from the 230 kV as would be served by this 500 kV system. They're right next to one another, so the information will be provided through that course, and I do not believe additional monthly reporting requirements are required. And I would add that this level of monthly reporting of individual customer, these are individual prospective customer load probabilities, if we file that monthly, there's a competitive environment here. We are providing that information. It's fine to provide it to the commission staff, but when we start providing that to LEUG, which seems to be now focused as an economic development group, as I heard earlier, we're giving competitors information to them to do what? I don't know. And that should be a concern for any business looking to locate in Louisiana. So I'd recommend we stay with what we have in terms of the quarterly load forecast we file, supplemented by the updates to the discovery in the 230 kV case on these same probability assertions. It's a long way of answering your question, I hope.
You did answer my question, and I appreciate that. Does anybody else?
Mr. Andrews, just really quickly, so I can make sure I'm following and understanding you correctly. You're saying that the probability assessments would already kind of be included in your quarterly transmission reporting, that you could see that information? Or are you saying that would be this is totally different information that doesn't, and you see no necessity for them to be reported monthly, quarterly, or annually?
I think there are three levels. To be clear, the quarterly load forecasting that was ordered by directive of the commission many years ago, maybe back in the mid-2013, 14. That is a system-wide quarterly load forecast because the commission at that time, this was back when we had a lot of LNG activity, the commission wanted to make sure it had visibility on these large loads. Back then, what we called large loads. That's system-wide. That is not the same type of probability assessments that are being asked for here. I just wanted to mention that we already provide a quarterly load forecast system-wide, that view, and now we've supplemented that with the settlement provision in the 230, West Bank 230 kV case, where we've agreed through settlement with all the parties, including LEUG, to provide these West Bank corridor load forecast probability assertions or assessments, provide those biannually, once starting in February of 2026 and every 6 months until the later of the in-service date of the West Bank 230 kV project or 2027, the later of those two.
Okay, how often how frequent are these probability assessments updated?
It's not a scheduled activity like, okay, it's the 5th of the month, let's do it.
Right.
It's constant monitoring engagement with these, and when our economic development group tells me, hey, we were talking to, I'll make up a name since it's public, we were talking to Hyundai Steel, and they did something on their approvals or didn't do something that causes us to be more or less certain that they will be here. When those events happen, whenever they happen, and whatever they are, they come back and say, all right, we need to reassess. Something changed, positive or negative. And that's our process. And so whenever those things happen, if it happens every week, we reassess every week.
So it's just flex?
Yes.
And the commission, we can get this information from you whenever, correct?
Whenever you ask.
Okay.
And the difference is, you as a regulator, we give you guys confidential information.
Yeah, it is confidential information.
Highly confidential, competitive, and it could jeopardize the competitive positions of these industries want to come here. And look, we did, with great care, and we worked with the parties in that 230 kV case and in this 500 kV case to provide these exact probability assessments. So we provide it in the case. The challenge we have is providing these monthly, ongoing. It's a level of granularity that creates risk for new businesses looking to locate in Louisiana that we don't think is needed or prudent to do.
Okay, thank you.
So you're looking for 100% guarantee that they need it? Is it,
Asking Randy.
He might be.
no.
Mr. Young, I know you sent a letter about this issue, so your response or thoughts?
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, Randy Young, and I'm here on behalf of Louisiana Energy Users Group. It's a group of industrial customers, buy a lot of power in Louisiana, and they are ratepayers. And yes, there's a lot of folks in there that are interested in economic development, but and I had a request for oral argument on this. And so let me start out by saying I want to be clear, this is about a very large transmission project. It's about $1 billion project. It's very large, it's very expensive, $955 million. We are not opposed to the project. I want to be clear on that. We're not saying don't approve the project. What we are saying is that we think it's important, from the standpoint of existing ratepayers, to have a reporting requirement. And let me talk through that. So the key drivers, or the key reason that Entergy is saying we need to build this $1 billion transmission project, is to serve some new potential loads that would be coming to Louisiana. And we all hope those loads come, and it'd be a wonderful thing if they come. But the reality is that if they don't come, then the costs for that $1 billion project are going to fall to the existing ratepayers. And we discovered through the process of going through these cases with Entergy that Entergy does this probability assessment on these underlying load projects. And they look at every one and say, what's the chance that they're going to come? And Entergy puts a percentage on each of those. And I've got those on a one-pager that lists those percentages. And the percentages are confidential, and because they're labeled confidential in the case, they're highly protected. You can only see them under a confidentiality agreement. Individual members of LEUG do not see it. You have to do it. The rules of the commissioners, you can only do it through counsel and consultants. But we see these numbers, and when you look at these numbers, and I've shown them to some of you that I had time to meet with, there's still big question marks about whether or not some of these loads are going to come. There's still big question marks on whether or not they'll actually happen. We hope they'll happen, but we don't know. And again, it matters whether they come or not, because if they don't come, then the existing ratepayers have to pay for this. So what we're saying, Commissioners, and my whole point of being up here today is that we think it's very important that the Commission have a reporting requirement. So you see what these percentages are changing, if they change, month by month. And I don't care if it's every 2 months, every 3 months, but the idea is to allow the Commission to keep its eye on the ball, look at these underlying load projects, and if something changes and they're not going to come, then you'll know that right away, and then you can take whatever action you think you need to see fit if the facts change. And so it's about keeping this information in front of you. Now, Mr. Hand talked through several reasons why he doesn't think they should have to report this information, and let me talk through that. Number one, he talked about some quarterly reports that they file with the Commission on Load Growth. Well, those quarterly reports don't have this level of detail about these individual projects that are identified. So that doesn't answer it. Plus, those quarterly reports are based on these annual assessments they do, and they're only updated on an annual basis. But separate from that annual update process, Entergy's told us that they look at these probability assessments and update them almost daily. So these numbers can change, and I'm trying to get the most current information in front of the Commission because it's a $1 billion project. Second thing, he's saying, well, we're creating some ad hoc rule just for Entergy. No, we're not. This is a certification case for a $1 billion project. The Commission has the authority to impose and require conditions on this individual approval. And it's not creating a rule that applies to everything. It's requiring a condition on this approval in this case because it's a $1 billion project with still a lot of question marks on the individual loads. And so we think it's important. It's not trying to create a new broad-based rule. And then he talked about competitiveness and confidentiality and all that kind of stuff, Commission has rules that protect all that information. It does not get seen by anyone with LUG except the attorneys and the consultants. That's the only way we get to participate and see this data at the Commission. And the last point, what he's suggesting to you is that even this probability stuff is already filed with the Commission, and we have some agreement to already do that. I don't believe that's the case. We did do an agreement in the 230 kV case that allowed for access to this data while certain cases are ongoing at the Commission that allows you to ask discovery questions and get updates. And so that's in place. But what we're talking about is not just getting that information while those cases are alive, but rather through the construction of this line, which could take several years. And so we think it's important we have a distinct reporting requirement on this topic. I don't see that we have a path that requires this reporting. If you're telling me that you are going to report this data, this specific load probability data, every 6 months you're going to file that report, I'd like to know that, but I don't think that's in that current requirement as I recall it. It's been a while since I looked at it. And then the staff has suggested, well, there's some new reporting in this case that requires if anything changes or if you need new generation transmission. Again, I think that's broader. I don't think it covers this. I'm trying to cover the specific updates. We're talking about a page of information. It's information they already have. It's not something new that they have to do. And I think it's important from an existing ratepayer standpoint, because if these projects don't happen, the existing ratepayers have to pay the bills. And if it's something does happen that they're not going to go forward, I think this Commission should know that information as soon as possible and have it at their fingertips in monthly reporting. And so I'm asking for required monthly reporting of these status updates. It's information Entergy already has. Just require them to report it and file it in the case as confidential data. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Young.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and I'll let you play your rebuttal. I just want to make sure I understand Mr. Young correctly. So your ask is that the Commission put in a probability assessment requirement of some sort.
No. I am not. We're past that, Judge. We had some proposals in the case.
Or we should consider.
The ALJ said we're not going to set a standard. If you want to do that, go do a rulemaking. We're not. So we're not asking for a standard, a percentage, or anything. We're just saying Entergy's own probability assessments, what they already do. Just give us what you already do and see, and just tell us, just report it to us. We're not asking for a standard, we just want to see where we are. Just give us status updates.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was following your argument. So, Mr. Hand.
So I learned earlier when Mr. Heinen gave his presentation that a lot of pictures are helpful. So I gave you guys a picture of the map to provide some context for these projects, what we refer to as the West Bank 230 and the West Bank 500 kV line. The cities aren't marked here, but you guys know the geography. You can see these lines generally run between Baton Rouge and New Orleans along the river. You can see the kind of the north facing, which we call the East Bank, of course, to make it challenging. Has a lot of 230 kV and 500 kV lines. That's our traditional industrial corridor between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. The area we're talking about now is on the south side of this map, the west bank of the river. The red dots located there, and this was exhibit number 3 to Mr. May's testimony in the docket. Those red dots equal 14 project locations that we are tracking, have been tracking. And you can see in the dashed blue line, that's the 500 kV line that's at issue here. That's an 84-mile 500 kV line. This would be a new high voltage pathway cutting through, really in South Louisiana, Southeast Louisiana. This is where things will develop. You've heard a lot about the Ascension Parish Riverplex Mega Park. This kind of cuts through that area. I think that's a 17,000 acre mega site. So this would enable development there and other development. So I'm just providing this for context to see where it is. But as important as this project is to enable economic development, and we think the load, the potential load of these 14 dots is more than enough to justify this line. The other benefit that hasn't been talked about today about this line is the reliability and resilience benefits associated with creating a new 500 kV pathway into the greater New Orleans area. We all remember from Hurricane Ida, and if you remember further back, Hurricane Gustav, we lost some major transmission tie lines that caused outages, prolonged outages in the greater New Orleans area. This 500 kV line will be another strong tie all the way into downstream of Gypsy area, creating enormous reliability and resilience benefits, not just for Southeast Louisiana, but for the metro New Orleans area. And in fact, part of this project, we're going to convert from Waterford to Churchill. There's an existing 230 line. We're going to convert that to 500 kV service. So for the first time ever, we're going to have a 500 kV loop into DSG, kind of touching into Jefferson Parish. So I don't want to undersell the tremendous reliability and resilience benefits that customers will see from this project. But in addition to that, we also have the economic development aspect to enable load serving. So if there are concerns about the economic aspects of it, think about the reliability and the resilience of it. And if I could, Commissioner, I'm going to respond to a few things. I'll be very brief. We've had a longer day than may be expected, but we talked about the Commission's decision today to certify this or not, and we are asking you to certify it, to accept the ALJ's recommendation and the staff's recommendation. When you decide that, if you approve it, we walk out of here. It's not like my hand's in the air like I just don't care and I'm going to build it no matter what. We monitor this. We have a prudence obligation for any capital project we undertake that you approve. From the day after you approve it, we have a prudence obligation. And if we see something that changes, that causes the need for the project or the benefits of the project to change dramatically, we need to come back to you all and inform you. If we don't, you know what happens. We've heard a lot about plenary authority. One of the key things the Commission has done and can do is make sure that we act prudently. And so if we don't come back to you, there's a change in circumstance that this line is no longer needed, then we can be found imprudent, which means our shareholders will pay for the damage from that imprudence, not customers. So we have a lot of incentive to be very careful with this project. As Mr. Young said, it is a significant investment. And so we will take that seriously. The certification of anything you do is based on what you know today, what we have presented to you today. I can't expect you to say, I'm approving what happens in the future, and even if I don't know what happens. So we're just asking you to approve that this is needed and in the public interest today, knowing that we will monitor it, we will assess it, and behave prudently going forward. The prudence thing cannot be understated. It is different from whether we provide these monthly probability assessments as requested or not. The prudence obligation is the same. It will be there, and we take it seriously. And just as proof that we do take it seriously, and this is something Mr. Young cited in his materials, I believe in his letter, and I believe it is very true. He refers to a project that was known as the Little Gypsy 3 Repower. As I look up at this, at the dais, I think there are only two of you who were involved in that project. It was in the mid-2006 timeframe. And so what happened there was high gas prices were prevailing. This was before the shale revolution. We were seeing, Commissioner Campbell, you can remember it, we were seeing $8, $10, $12 gas. Rates were extremely high because of that. And so the Commission wanted us to take action to look for solid fuel alternatives so we're not as hedged or exposed to natural gas prices. Two projects we looked at. One was a new nuclear unit. I'm not going to talk about that today. The other one was a repowering of Little Gypsy 3, about a 500 megawatt project in St. Charles Parish, repowering that from natural gas to a blend of coal and petcoke, I believe. At the time we looked at it, depending on what you believed about future gas prices, it was very protective and beneficial for customers, but we knew there was uncertainty because of gas prices. And lo and behold, and I think thankfully, the shale revolution happened, which turned the economics of that project upside down. We came back to the Commission very quickly, and other stakeholders were engaged. We came back and suspended it initially. Matt Brown, my counsel, was involved, so if you have questions about the details, he can. But the bottom line is we came back and ultimately stacked hands with the Commission and suspended, canceled that project. And yes, there was a cost to prudently suspend and cancel the project based on what we then knew. And we worked with the Commission to securitize that and finance it in the lowest way possible. So that's one example. And more recently, we have an East Bank 230 kV transmission project that is pending at the commission, there's been some changes in some of the loads that were supporting that. And we filed in the ALJ this week, we filed to suspend the proceeding, and she granted it because we cited uncertainties, wanted more time to evaluate. So we take very seriously our obligation to monitor and take prudent action.
Staff, would you mind just corroborating his assessment of the prudency review? Is he accurate?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, really quickly, thank you for everything you just said. Do you do this, does Entergy do this? Golly, I can't talk today. Are there any other territories where you do this type of probability assessment from Entergy standpoint? Does the commission in Texas or Mississippi or Arkansas make some of this for your other opcos operate under this, or would this be unique in the broader picture?
So I will answer it two ways. I believe every operating company peer of Entergy's, all of my affiliates, does these probability assessments, because if you're a utility, one of our primary jobs is to grow the communities we serve in, grow the economies, support the economies. And so these probability assessments, I believe, are happening with each of the operating companies as they look at any loads coming. And it's not just a 1,000 megawatt load. It's a 5 megawatt load. Those are important for communities. So yes, they do it. I do not believe, and this is subject to check, Commissioner, I do not believe any of those probability assessments in those jurisdictions are filed with the regulators, much less given to interveners in those cases, on an ongoing monthly or quarterly basis.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Just a couple of notes, Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell.
In all due respect to everybody in the room, you think y'all could about 5 minutes and wrap this up, but we've been here about an hour and a half and talking, and I respect what you had to say, but how about giving him 5 minutes and giving him about 3 minutes, because he's used 2 extra minutes. I'm just kidding, Randy. But let's get this over with. We'll be here at 5:30 this afternoon. Same old 7 and 6.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell.
I can do it in about 2 minutes, Commissioner.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right. Clock started. So, Commissioners, Entergy definitely does have an ongoing prudence obligation to continue to manage this project through the whole life of it. And it's also correct that in Little Gypsy, we had a situation where they had the economics changed, the circumstances changed, and so they canceled the project, and that cost the ratepayers $200 million. All of that supports why I'm asking for the monthly reporting, because if something changes, you want to know about it right away. In Little Gypsy, we have a different view about how that tide turned. In that case, we had transparency on the gas prices. We saw the gas prices coming down. We were raising our hand very high and very loudly saying we need to revisit that decision. And it eventually came back to the commission, and then it got canceled. On this one, we don't have the visibility on these probability analysis. We can't see it unless they report it and they come tell it to you every month and give us the updates. So that's why we want the data, so that we can, as stakeholders, as a commission, see right away if something changes, so you keep your eye on the ball and know if you need to call them in and say, let's do something on this.
All right.
And closing remarks in way less than 3 minutes. As Mr. Young said earlier, what we have today is fantastic. Our objective is to keep it that way going forward for the state, and we will honor that prudence obligation very carefully. If there are instances where you have any information needs, we will certainly provide those to you, but we don't believe these monthly reporting obligations are reasonable, appropriate, or prudent.
As I also said, it's not about tomorrow. It's not about today. It's about tomorrow, and where rates going tomorrow. And it's important that we keep our eye on the ball to try to keep Louisiana a good place to do business.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So,
And for whatever you were up here for, thank you, too.
That's Matt Walsh.
you got to,
I made a motion to approve.
And you second it.
and I've seconded it, okay? So, is there any objection?
Jesus Christ.
Hearing no objection. Hearing no objection.
All day, and nobody
Move for
objects.
24 is passed.
Do you have to read the in rate?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, the last agenda item is Exhibit 23. It's Cantium versus Rosefield Fusion Operating, and a complaint against Rosefield for transportation and terminaling of crude oil as a common carrier without a tariff on file with the commission at rates that are excessive, and request that Rosefield will pay reparations, refunds, and damages for charges above just and reasonable rates. It's a possible executive session to discuss litigation strategy pursuant to revised statute 4217 regarding civil suit number 765-932. We need a motion and a second to enter, and then there is a side room that we can go into, so we don't have to turn off the mics and all of that kind of stuff. So I'll take a motion and a second.
Move to go into executive session.
Second.
And also take a recess in between there and now.
Recess for 5 minutes.
motion and a second to come out of executive session.
All right, let's come out.
And we're good with the, where's y'all got us?
She says she's got it.
Okay.
And you need to do the in-ray.
We already did it? We did the in-ray, so.
Do you have a motion for that?
I think, let me make sure I articulate this properly, but this is Commissioner Scrummetta's motion.
Go ahead and do that.
He directs.
Microphones are too close to one another.
Oh, I'm sorry. That one was off earlier. We direct the.
You need a real one. Give me yours. There you go.
No one wants me to talk? Now, there we go. All right. So the commission directs the parties in the pending matter to file briefs on the issue raised by the judge, which is the applicability of the law to the current facts within 30 days, with reply briefs to be filed 15 days thereafter. I think I said that right. Is that correct?
I think 30 days might be tight because you don't have the transcript.
True. So do we want to make it 30 days from the availability of the transcript?
I think you need to make it when they get the transcript.
Okay. So I know, and Jamie, I'm going to look at you. I'm sure y'all requested a transcript as well.
We don't have a transcript.
Yeah, so maybe the parties will notify. How about
Make it 30 days.
30 days from the transcript?
Or 30 days from today. That's
30 days from
30 days from today. Okay, 30 days from today.
That's
Okay.
fine, 30 days from today.
The transcript within 30 days.
Who was there from all the parties? We had parties there?
It was an open court, right?
Yes.
Jamie, you need to speak to the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Open court, there you go.
Jamie Watts on behalf of Roseville Fouchon Operating. For the hearing that occurred at the 19th JDC on December 9th, I have requested a transcript from the court reporter. In prior experience in this case at the 19th, it took several weeks to get the transcript. So I do not think 30 days from today would be sufficient time. 30 days from availability of the transcript would be more reasonable.
How are we going to know when that is?
Well,
We can notify.
we're a party.
So I also requested a copy of the transcript, so I assume we would get it simultaneously.
Can you post it into the record that when we get copy of the transcript, you can notify all parties
Yes.
30 days from that
Yes,
day?
we'll do that. We'll provide notice, yes, when we receive it to all the parties, the 30-day clock starts, and then we'll do the 30 days from that date, and then 15 days thereafter for reply.
That's my motion.
There you go.
Okay, bueno.
Motion, I'll second. Okay.
Opposition.
Any opposition? Hearing none, it's done.
Move to adjourn.
We're adjourned.